Foster boy saved. Biker's grandson. From flooding. Next day, 637 bikes booed. Noah Carter felt the flood hit like a living thing. 1 second the river was loud but contained, slapping against the swollen bank behind the trailer park. The next, the levee made a tearing sound, and a wall of black water rushed through the street, carrying trash cans, branches, and somebody's porch steps like toys. Then a child screamed. Before we continue, tell us in the comments where you are watching this from. Noah ran toward the sound anyway. Rain stung his face as he left the church's high steps and splashed into water already climbing his shins. Behind him, the sandbag line was chaos. People yelling, passing bags faster, the fire chief screaming orders that the wind tore apart. "Noah, get back!" someone shouted. Noah didn't look back. If he did, he'd have to explain why he never listened, why he always moved before he was told. Foster homes taught him one thing better than any school. When adults froze, kids paid for it. The scream came again, small, cracked, desperate. "Help!" Noah cut between two flooded yards. A streetlight flickered, turning the rain into needles. He spotted the boy clinging to the top rail of a chain-link fence above what used to be a drainage ditch. Now it was a raging channel feeding the street. The fence shook like it might fold. The kid couldn't be more than 6, blonde hair plastered to his forehead, one sneaker on, one gone. His hands were white where they locked around the metal. "I can't hold," the boy sobbed. "I've got you." Noah waded forward. The current punched his knees. Something solid slammed past in the brown water, close enough to tug at his jeans. A second later, a trash can rolled by like a drum, flipping end over end. A surge hit the fence. The boy's fingers slipped. He dropped, hanging by one arm. Noah lunged, grabbed the fence with one hand, and caught the boy's wrist with the other. The force tried to peel them both away. Noah hooked his arm through the links, hauled with everything he had, and dragged the boy up and over the top rail. "Arms around my neck," Noah said, breath coming out in bursts. "Tight." The boy clamped on. Noah turned, but the current was worse now, angry, rising. It shoved under his feet and lifted him just enough to scare the breath out of him. He grabbed a tree trunk and locked on, pressing the boy between his chest and the bark until the surge passed. The tree creaked. Noah felt it flex like even roots were negotiating with the river. The boy's sleeve slid back and Noah saw the wristband, black leather, stamped with wings around a skull. A biker emblem. "My grandpa said, 'If I get lost, show it,'" the boy choked, teeth chattering. "What's his name?" Noah asked. The boy swallowed hard. Sledge. Noah had heard that name in Riverbend. Everyone had. Hank Sledge Marshall, the biker who owned the garage off Route 18, the man deputies watched carefully when he rode through town, the man some people feared and others quietly relied on when they needed a tow at midnight and didn't want questions. "Okay," Noah said. "We get you back to him." Noah pushed off the tree and fought toward the only high ground he could see, the church steps. The water reached his thighs. Debris spun around him. The boy buried his face in Noah's shoulder, shaking. Noah's legs burned. Twice his feet slid on mud that wasn't there a minute ago. Once something grabbed his ankle, just a floating tarp, but it made his pulse spike so hard he almost lost his grip. He hit the first stone step and nearly collapsed. He climbed 2 more and set the boy down, checking him fast. No blood, no broken arm, just terror so big it didn't fit in his little chest. "Where's Grandpa?" the boy whispered. "I don't know," Noah said, "but he's coming." A flashlight beam cut through the rain, followed by a voice like a growl. "Wyatt!" A big man barreled through the floodwater from the direction of the sandbag line, boots splashing as if the river owed him an apology. Leather vest soaked dark, tattoos, a cut on his back with the same skull and wings patch Noah had just seen on Wyatt's wrist. The man reached the steps and froze, staring at the child. "Wyatt," he breathed. His hands shook as he pulled the boy into his chest. "Grandpa," Wyatt sobbed. The biker held him, then immediately checked him head to toe like he couldn't trust his own eyes. When he was sure the kid was real, his gaze snapped to Noah. "You pulled him out?" he asked. Noah nodded. "Fence by the ditch, he was slipping." For a second, the biker looked like he might say something huge and messy and honest. Then he swallowed it down the way men like him swallowed everything. "What's your name?" he demanded, like it mattered. "Noah." "Hank Marshall," he said. They call me Sledge. Noah's throat was dry. Sir, Sledge's eyes stayed on him. You got family here, Noah? Noah hesitated, then went with the safest truth. Foster. Denton's. The name changed Sledge's face, not fear, not surprise, something sharper, like a man hearing the wrong song in the right place. Red and blue lights smeared through the rain. A patrol truck crawled up as far as it could. 2 deputies climbed out, flashlights in hand. The older one took one look at Noah and pointed like he'd been waiting for him. There, he said, that's him. Noah blinked. Me? Reports of looting during the evacuation, the deputy snapped. You got ID? I was on the sandbag line, Noah said. Ask anyone. ID, the deputy repeated, like it was the only word he knew. Noah didn't have one. He never did. His stuff got misplaced every time he was moved. The deputy's mouth curled. Hands behind your back. Sledge stepped forward, voice turning to gravel. He saved my grandson. The deputy finally looked at Sledge, clocked the patch, then looked back at Noah. The calculation lasted half a heartbeat. Appreciate it, the deputy said, not meaning it. Kid still comes with us until we sort it out. Wyatt clung to Sledge's neck. Don't let them take him, he whispered. Sledge's arm tightened around the boy. You're not cuffing him, he said. The older deputy's smile widened. You gonna tell me how to do my job, Marshal? Noah felt the air change, not because of thunder, because men were making choices. The deputy reached for Noah. Noah tried to step back on the slick stone. His foot slipped. Pain shot through his knee as he hit the step. Stop resisting, the deputy barked, grabbing harder. I'm not resisting, Noah gasped. I didn't do anything. The younger deputy hovered, hand near his belt, eyes darting between Sledge and Noah like a man praying he didn't have to choose. Sledge took one slow step forward. Let him go. Or what? The older deputy said, loud enough for the people on the sandbag line to hear. You gonna start a riot in the middle of a flood? Wind howled through the bell tower. Something wooden snapped out in the water. The river kept climbing, like it didn't care about badges or patches. Headlights swept across the flooded street. A pickup rolled up, stopping crooked. A man jumped out, wearing a soaked work jacket and a baseball cap pulled low. Jeb Denton, Noah's foster father. Jeb's eyes landed on Noah, and his mouth twisted like he'd finally gotten proof Noah was what he always said he was. There he is, Jeb shouted over the rain. I told you, he runs off every time there's trouble, always looking for an excuse to steal. Noah's stomach turned. I saved. Shut up, Jeb snapped, and shoved toward the steps like he had a right to. You embarrassing me in front of the whole town, boy? Sledge's head turned, slow. You Denton? He asked. Jeb looked him up and down, saw the patch, and his courage flickered. But the deputy was beside him, and that gave him a spine. That's my foster, Jeb said. He's a liar. Always has been. Take him in before he does something worse. Sledge's eyes went cold. Your foster just brought your town's child back alive. Don't care what he did, Jeb shot back. He's trouble. He's been trouble since the day they dropped him on my porch. Noah's ears rang. He'd heard that line before, but never in front of this many people, never in front of the kid he'd just saved, never in front of a man like Sledge. Wyatt's face pressed into Sledge's shoulder. He saved me, Wyatt whispered, voice small but stubborn. The older deputy leaned close to Noah. See, he murmured like this was a lesson. Nobody's going to believe you over grown men. Noah's eyes flicked past them, down the flooded street, and caught a figure in a yellow raincoat near the levee access road, standing too still to be a volunteer. The figure bent, lifted something long and metal from the water. Bolt cutters. Noah's breath caught, the figure looked up, and even through the rain, Noah felt the moment their eyes met. Noah tried to speak, tried to point, tried to get one word out. Cutters, levee, someone. Then the deputy jerked Noah's arms behind his back, and cold steel bit into Noah's wrists. The cuffs were too tight on purpose. Noah knew that kind of tight, the kind that wasn't about safety. It was about making sure you felt small. Deputy Rains, everyone in Riverbend called him Rains like he owned the name, dragged Noah down the slick church steps and into the floodwater like he was hauling a bag of garbage. Noah stumbled, caught himself, and felt the metal bite deeper. I saw someone at the levee, Noah said fast, breath ragged. Yellow raincoat, bolt cutters. Rains didn't even turn his head. Sure you did. I'm not lying, Noah pushed. He was right there, by the access road. He looked at me. Rains yanked him harder. Kid, you can tell your stories to the judge. A flash of movement in the rain, Sledge stepping off the steps. You don't put hands on him like that, Sledge said, voice low enough to be dangerous. The younger deputy flinched, palm still hovering near his belt. Rains looked over his shoulder, finally giving Sledge the courtesy of attention. His face was calm, but Noah could see the pulse in his jaw. He's in custody, Rains said. Back up. Wyatt's small voice cut through the storm. Grandpa, please. He saved me. Sledge tightened his hold on the boy, and Noah saw something crack in the old biker's eyes. Not anger, fear. The kind of fear men didn't admit to. The kind that made them do stupid things unless they swallowed it. Sledge swallowed it. Wyatt, he murmured mostly to himself, stay here, don't move. Then, louder, to Rains, you want to question him? Do it here, do it now, in front of witnesses. Rains smiled like he'd been offered a gift. No, we do it at the station. Jeb Denton stood by his pickup, rain sliding off the brim of his cap. He looked pleased, almost relieved, as if Noah being cuffed meant the universe finally agreed with him. Good, Jeb called out. Maybe this time he'll learn. Noah turned his head just enough to look at him. He was drowning, Noah said. Wyatt was drowning. Jeb spat into the floodwater. And you want a medal for doing what any decent person would do? Sledge's eyes snapped to Jeb. You don't talk to him like that. Jeb stiffened at the tone, but he stayed under Rains's shadow. You don't tell me how to talk to my foster, Jeb said. You bikers think you own this town because you rev loud and scare old ladies? Sledge stepped closer, slow and measured, like a man approaching a cliff edge. I don't need to scare old ladies, he said. I just need you to remember your place when you're lying. Rains lifted his chin. Marshal, last warning. Interfere, and I'll put you in cuffs too. For a moment, Noah thought Sledge might actually do it, might cross that line and let Rains win. But Sledge looked down at Wyatt's trembling hands, at the way the child's fingers clutched leather like it was a life raft. Sledge backed off half a step. Fine, he said. Take him, but you don't hide him. I want to see him, tonight. Rains's grin widened. You can want whatever you like. He dragged Noah toward the patrol truck. As Noah was shoved into the back seat, the glass fogged instantly, trapping the sounds of the storm into a muffled roar. Through the blurred window, Noah saw Wyatt still on the church steps, wrapped in Sledge's arms. Sledge looked down at the boy, then up, straight at Noah. Not pity, not sympathy, a promise. The truck lurched forward, tires fighting the water. Riverbend slid by in streaks of headlights and lightning. Submerged mailboxes, floating lawn chairs, a dog barking from a porch roof. People screamed names into the rain and got only wind back. Rains drove like the flood was an inconvenience, not a disaster. He spoke to the radio in clipped bursts, calling in, looting suspect detained like Noah was a box to check. Noah leaned forward as far as the seatbelt allowed. Why aren't you listening? He demanded. Someone cut the levee. I saw the bolt cutters. Rains glanced in the rearview mirror. His eyes were flat. You want to know what I think? Noah didn't answer because Rains never waited for permission. I think you're a foster kid with a reputation, Rains said. And when the water goes down, people are going to want someone to blame. You ever notice how that works? Noah's throat tightened. I don't have a reputation, Rains chuckled. Sure you don't. Denton says you steal. Teachers say you fight. Social services says you struggle with authority. Noah felt heat rise up his neck. Because they write it that way. Because it follows me. Exactly, Rains said, like Noah had finally understood a simple truth. It follows you. So be smart. Stop talking. The station sat on a slight hill, one of the only buildings not threatened yet. The parking lot was a soup of mud and rainwater, but the flag still flapped, stubborn and wet. Inside, the air smelled like old coffee and bleach. Fluorescent lights buzzed. A map of the county hung crooked on the wall like nobody cared to straighten it. Rains hauled Noah through the lobby. A dispatcher looked up, saw Noah's cuffs, and went back to typing like it was normal. Put him in interview 2, Rains said. The younger deputy, his name tag read Ellis, hesitated. He's a minor. Rains shot him a look. And? Ellis swallowed. We're supposed to notify... Denton's already here, Rains cut in. And if the kid wants an attorney, he can say so. Noah opened his mouth, but Rains already shoved him into a small room with a metal table bolted to the floor. The door closed. The click of the lock hit Noah harder than the cuffs. He sat because there was nowhere else to put his body. Minutes passed. Maybe 10. Maybe 20. Time was a stupid thing inside a room with no windows. Noah tried to breathe slow, tried to think like he'd taught himself to think in houses where one wrong tone could turn into a week of punishment. What did I see? Yellow raincoat, near the access road. Bolt cutters lifted out of the water, the way the figure didn't run, didn't panic, just looked at Noah, calm as if they owned what they'd done. It wasn't some random. It was someone who knew the levee, knew the timing, knew exactly what a break would do to the trailer park. Noah's fingers tingled. The cuffs were still on, still digging in. No one had offered to loosen them. No one had offered water. He could still taste river mud in his mouth. The door opened. Rains walked in, followed by Jeb Denton. Jeb shut the door behind them like he enjoyed it. Rains sat opposite Noah, slow and casual. Jeb stayed standing, arms folded, looming like a shadow that had learned to talk. "All right," Rains said. "Let's make this easy. You were seen near homes that were being evacuated. A resident reported missing property. Explain." Noah stared at him. "I was on the sandbag line." "And then?" Rains pressed. "And then I heard a kid screaming," Noah said. "So I ran and pulled him out of the flood." Jeb snorted. "Always has a story." Rains didn't look at Jeb, but his smile said he liked having backup. "The kid you saved is Hank Marshall's grandson." Noah's chest tightened. "Yes." "So you expect us to believe you?" Rains tapped the table once. "Just happened to find him. Just happened to be the hero." Noah's jaw clenched. "What do you want me to say? That I left him?" Jeb leaned forward, face close enough Noah could smell cigarette smoke soaked into his clothes. "You want attention," Jeb said softly. "That's what you want. You always want someone to look at you and think you're special." Noah flinched despite himself. Rains watched it like it was proof. "Denton says you've been acting out." Jeb nodded immediately. "He's been worse since the garage started giving him handouts." Noah blinked. "What?" Jeb's eyes flashed. "Don't play dumb. Sledge's place. You've been hanging around there. They feed you, they let you feel tough, like you're one of them." Noah swallowed. He'd swept floors at Marshall's garage twice, once for a sandwich, once because Sledge's daughter, Cass, had seen him walking home in the rain and offered work. Nothing else, no gang, no patches, just a place that didn't treat him like a burden. Rains leaned back. "So you're close to Marshall's people?" "I'm not close to anyone," Noah said, voice low. Jeb's lips curled. "Hear that? Poor Noah. Nobody loves him. That's why he lies." Noah's hands balled in the cuffs. Pain shot up his wrists. He forced himself to speak clearly, like clarity could protect him. "I saw someone at the levee," Noah said again. "Before you cuffed me. Yellow raincoat, bolt cutters." Rains sighed like a parent listening to nonsense. "There it is." "It's not nonsense," Noah snapped. "The levee didn't just break. Someone—" Jeb slammed his palm on the table. The bang made Noah's heart jump. "You're going to get yourself hurt," Jeb hissed. "You accuse the wrong people, and then what? You think social services saves you? They'll put you somewhere worse. You keep your mouth shut and you come home when this is done." Noah stared at him, and something inside him went cold. "Come home," Noah repeated quietly. "So you can lock me in the shed again?" Rains's eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" Jeb's face changed, too fast, a flicker of panic, then anger to cover it. "He's lying," Jeb said immediately. "He makes things up when he's cornered." Noah's pulse hammered. He hadn't planned to say it. It just came out because he was tired of being cornered. "You think I'm cornered?" Noah said, voice rising. "I saved a kid and you're sitting here trying to make me a criminal." Rains leaned forward. "Watch your tone." Noah laughed once, sharp and humorless. "My tone? The town's underwater and you're asking about someone's missing TV." Rains stood so abruptly his chair scraped. "Enough. You're going to sign a statement?" "No," Noah said. Rains's smile vanished. "You don't get to say no." Jeb stepped closer, eyes hard. "You will," he said, "or you'll learn what happens when you don't." Noah looked at the door, at the tiny rectangle of reinforced glass, at the hallway beyond. No one was coming. No one was listening. Then he remembered Sledge's eyes through the fogged window. A promise. Noah lifted his chin. "I want a lawyer," he said. Rains stared at him, and for the first time there was a real reaction, annoyance. Not fear, but irritation that the script had changed. Jeb's face tightened. "You don't need a lawyer." "I want one," Noah repeated slower. "And I want to talk to a social worker, not you." Rains's mouth twitched. "You watch a lot of TV, kid." Noah held his gaze. "I know my rights." Jeb's voice dropped, dangerous and intimate. "You don't have rights in my house?" Rains turned toward the door. "We'll see how tough you are after you sit a while." He opened it, then paused, looking back at Noah like he couldn't resist one more jab. "Oh," Rains said. "And about Marshall? If he shows up here causing problems, I'll make sure the whole county sees what kind of heroes bikers really are." The door shut. Noah sat alone again, wrists throbbing, heartbeat loud in his ears. Then, from somewhere down the hallway, he heard the front doors of the station open, hard. Voices rose, one calm and deep, one sharp like a blade, and then Sledge's voice, unmistakable even through walls. "I'm not leaving without the boy." Noah's breath caught, because the last time someone said they weren't leaving without him, it was always a lie. But this time, the sound that followed wasn't a door closing. It was a whole building going quiet, like everyone suddenly realized the storm outside wasn't the biggest thing headed their way. The station's front lobby was small, but it suddenly felt smaller. Noah couldn't see it, but he could hear it. Boots on tile, wet leather creaking, a dozen voices trying to stay calm and failing. Someone's radio squawked and got shut off mid-sentence. The rain battered the windows like fists. Rains came back down the hall fast, keyring rattling. He stopped at Noah's door, didn't open it, and spoke through the metal like Noah was a problem stored on a shelf. "Sit tight," Rains said. "I heard him," Noah said. "Sledge." A beat of silence. Then Rains colder. "You didn't hear anything." Footsteps approached, not hurried, measured, heavy. The kind of steps that didn't need speed because they already arrived in people's minds before the body did. The lock turned, the door opened. Rains stood in the frame with Deputy Ellis behind him. Ellis's face was pale. His uniform was damp at the collar like he'd been outside too long. Rains didn't look at Noah. He looked at the cuffs. "Hands on the table," Rains ordered. Noah did it, and the cuffs clinked against steel. Rains leaned in and lowered his voice. "Here's what's going to happen," he said. "You're going to keep your mouth shut. You're not going to stir up fairy tales about sabotage. You're not going to point fingers. You're going to say you found the kid, you brought him back, and that's it." Noah stared at him. "Why are you so scared of what I saw?" Rains's eyes flickered. It wasn't fear that flashed there. It was irritation that Noah could even ask. Ellis shifted. "Deputy," he murmured, like he was trying to be a human being in the middle of this. Rains ignored him. "If you talk, your foster guardian will file for you to be moved. You'll end up somewhere with bars on the windows. You understand?" Noah's wrists burned. He thought of Jeb's shed, the padlock, the dark, the smell of gasoline. He forced himself not to blink. "I want my lawyer," Noah said. Rains's jaw tightened. "You're not getting one tonight." There was a knock on the doorframe, soft, almost polite. A woman stepped in without waiting for permission. She was in a raincoat too, but not yellow. Dark blue, county-issued, hair in a tight bun, clipboard in hand, eyes that took in everything in one sweep. Noah's cuffs, the red marks on his wrists, Rains's stance, Ellis's guilt. "Deputy Rains," she said. "Mary Caldwell, Child Protective Services. I was notified a minor is being held during an emergency event." Rains blinked once. The smile he put on didn't reach his eyes. "Ma'am, it's a misunderstanding. The kid's with his guardian." Mary's eyes slid to Noah. "Noah Carter?" Noah swallowed. "Yes." "Do you feel safe with your guardian?" she asked, like she already knew the answer. Rains stepped forward. "Ma'am, this is an active investigation." Mary held up one finger, calm. "This is a child." She looked at Noah again. "Do you feel safe with Jeb Denton?" Noah's throat tightened so hard he almost couldn't speak. If he said no, Jeb would explode. If he said yes, he'd be signing his own cage. He heard Sledge's voice again through the building, closer now, controlled but edged. Show me the boy. Noah looked at Mary Caldwell and made the choice he'd never made out loud before. No, Noah said. I don't feel safe with him. Ellis exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for an hour. Raines's face hardened. He's lying, he snapped. He's manipulating you. Mary didn't react. She wrote something on her clipboard. Noted, she said. Then to Noah. Are you injured? My wrists, Noah said. They're too tight. Mary's eyes went to the cuffs. Remove them, she said. Raines stared at her as if she'd asked him to tear down the building. He's in custody. Mary's voice stayed even. He's a minor, in an emergency, in pain. Remove them. Raines didn't move. Then, behind Mary, the doorway filled with a shadow that didn't belong to any uniform. Sledge. He stood in the hall, with water still dripping off his vest, gray hair slicked back by rain, face carved by years that didn't apologize for themselves. Two other bikers flanked him, one tall with a braided beard, one shorter with a scar under his eye. They didn't look like they were there to fight. They looked like they were there to make sure nobody else did. Sledge's gaze went straight to Noah's cuffs. His voice came out low. Take them off. Raines's chin lifted. This is a police facility, Marshal. Sledge didn't blink. And that's a kid who saved my blood. Ellis stepped forward, voice tight. Mr. Marshal, you can't be back here. Sledge's eyes flicked to Ellis, just long enough to register him as not the enemy. Then, back to Raines. You want to be a man about this, or you want to hide behind a badge? Raines's hand hovered near his belt. Not a gun, the control that came with it. Mary Caldwell turned slightly, inserting herself like a barrier. Mr. Marshal, she said, I need you to stay calm. Sledge's jaw worked. He nodded once, not taking his eyes off Noah. I am calm, he said. Calm as me standing here. Calm as me not calling every club within 3 counties to surround this place, Raines scoffed. Threatening law enforcement now? Sledge tilted his head. Stating facts. Noah's pulse hammered. He didn't know what was worse, being alone with Raines and Jeb, or being the reason men like Sledge might go to war in the middle of a flood. Mary looked at Raines. Deputy, you have a child welfare officer present and a minor requesting counsel. If you refuse to comply with standard procedure, I will document it and contact the state. The words, the state, landed like a weight. Raines's eyes narrowed. Ellis moved. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small key, and stepped toward Noah. Raines snapped, Ellis? Ellis didn't look at him. His wrists are swelling, Ellis said quietly. He unlocked the cuffs. The moment the metal released, pain flashed through Noah's hands like fire. He flexed his fingers, blood returning in needles. He wanted to hide how much it hurt, but his hands shook anyway. Sledge saw it. Something in his face tightened. Not rage, restraint. Mary Caldwell stepped closer to Noah. Noah, she said gently, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Deputy Raines, unless you are charging him with a specific offense right now, you will allow me to speak with him privately. Raines's mouth twisted. We're investigating looting. Mary didn't move. Do you have probable cause beyond the statement of a guardian who has a conflict of interest? Raines's eyes flashed. A resident reported missing property. Mary waited. Raines hesitated for a fraction of a second too long. Sledge leaned in, voice like iron. Name the resident. Raines snapped his gaze to Sledge. I don't answer to you. Sledge nodded slowly. No. You answer to whoever's paying you. The room went still. Ellis's shoulders stiffened. Mary's eyes flickered. She caught the implication and filed it away. Raines straightened, posture stiff with authority. This interview is over. Mary held up her clipboard. It's not over, and you don't get to intimidate a minor into silence. Raines pointed at Noah. He stays here until this is sorted. Mary's voice stayed level. No, he's being released into temporary protective custody. Tonight, I'm calling the on-call judge if I have to. Raines's smile returned, thin, mean. Judge Halverson, in this weather? Good luck. Mary didn't flinch. Then I'll call the state hotline and have an emergency order issued. You want to stand in the way of that during a declared flood emergency? Your supervisor will love it. Raines's eyes darted once, toward the hallway, toward the lobby, toward the sound of more boots gathering. He didn't like the audience. He liked control. Sledge spoke again, calm. We're not here to burn your building down, he said. We're here to make sure you don't bury a kid to cover your mess. Noah swallowed. I saw someone. he said, voice hoarse. Near the levee, yellow raincoat, bolt cutters. Rains's head snapped. Noah, he warned, using his first name like a leash. Mary raised her eyebrows. Yellow raincoat, she repeated, writing. Bolt cutters. Location? Levee access road, Noah said. Near the ditch where Wyatt was. He lifted them out of the water. He looked right at me. Sledge's eyes narrowed, calculating. That access road, he murmured. Only a few people can get to it quick. Rains laughed once, too loud. You hearing this? Now the biker's a detective. Sledge ignored him and turned to Noah. Did you see a face? Noah shook his head. Hood up, rain, but he wasn't panicking. He moved like he knew he had time. Mary wrote again. Did you see a vehicle? Noah hesitated. Headlights, farther back, like someone waiting. But I didn't see the make. Rains stepped toward Mary. This is conjecture. Mary met his stare. It's a report of observed behavior related to a public safety incident during an emergency. It will be documented. Rains's lips thinned. From the hallway, a new voice appeared, sharp, female. Dad? Cass. Noah had only met her twice, but he recognized her instantly. Cass Marshall stepped into the doorway with wet hair shoved under a cap, grease smudged on one cheek like she'd come straight from the garage. She held Wyatt by the hand. The boy looked small in the harsh light, eyes red, but steady. Wyatt saw Noah and pulled away from Cass, running in short, frightened steps. Noah stood without thinking. Wyatt collided into him and clung to his waist. You're here, Wyatt whispered, voice breaking. I thought they took you forever. Noah swallowed hard. I'm here. Cass's eyes went to Noah's wrists, then to Rains. You cuffed him, she said, not a question. Rains's voice turned smooth again. Ma'am, this is official business. Cass stepped forward like she'd forgotten what fear felt like years ago. Official business is rescuing people, she said, not dragging the kid who saved my son into a box and calling it justice. Sledge's gaze softened when he looked at Cass, then hardened again when he looked at Rains. We're leaving, he said. Rains snapped. You're not taking him. Mary Caldwell lifted her phone. I'm calling right now, she said. Either you release him to protective custody or you explain to the state why you refused. Ellis's eyes flicked to Rains, a silent plea. Don't do this. Rains stared at Mary's phone like it was a weapon. Then, from somewhere outside, a siren wailed and died, like the flood had swallowed it mid-breath. The building trembled with another gust of wind. Rains seemed to remember, for one irritating moment, that nature didn't care about his games. Fine, he said, voice clipped. He's released. Pending further investigation. Noah's stomach clenched. Pending, he repeated. Rains's eyes cut to him. Don't get comfortable. Mary stepped between them. Noah will come with me tonight, she said. We'll arrange safe placement. Jeb Denton's voice cut in from the hallway like a whip. No. Everyone turned. Jeb stood at the end of the hall with his hat in his hands, face flushed, eyes bright with anger. He looked smaller here, away from his pickup, away from the rain, away from his usual territory. But he was still dangerous in the way a cornered man was dangerous. He's mine, Jeb said. You don't take him from my house because he tells stories. Mary's voice cooled. You are his foster guardian, not his owner. Jeb's eyes flicked to Sledge and Cass, calculating. This is because of them, he spat. He's trying to impress bikers. Wyatt's grip tightened around Noah's waist. He saved me, Wyatt said, louder this time. He didn't steal anything. Jeb's face twisted. Shut up, he snapped at the child before he could stop himself. Silence. Even Rains blinked at that. Sledge took one step forward, slow. You just told my grandson to shut up, he said quietly. Jeb swallowed. His bravado wavered. I didn't mean... Cass's voice cut like steel. You meant it. Mary Caldwell wrote something else down. Noted, she said, and the words sounded like a door closing on Jeb's future. Jeb's anger surged back, desperate. He pointed at Noah. He's a liar, he said. He causes trouble. Noah cut him off, voice shaking but loud enough. You locked me in the shed, Noah said, more than once when you got mad. Jeb froze. Ellis's face went pale. Rains's expression flickered, tiny, controlled, then smoothed out again. But Noah saw it. He saw the cost of the words, the way a truth could poison a room. Mary Caldwell didn't look up from her clipboard. We'll address those allegations, she said. Jeb's voice cracked. You take him and you'll regret it. Sledge leaned forward just slightly. "Say that again," he murmured. Jeb's eyes flicked to Rains, searching for rescue. Rains didn't move. He'd used Jeb as a tool, and tools weren't protected when they started making noise. Mary placed her hand lightly on Noah's shoulder. "Noah," she said, "you're coming with me now." Wyatt made a sound, small and panicked. "No! He has to come with us." Cass knelt and cupped Wyatt's cheek, steadying him. "Baby, Noah's safe," she said. "We're not leaving him." Sledge nodded once. "We're not," he confirmed. Noah wanted to believe it. He wanted to take Wyatt's hand and follow them out of the station, out of Riverbend, out of the flood and the cuffs and Jeb Denton's porch, and all the places he'd learned to stop hoping. But Mary Caldwell gently guided him toward the door. As they stepped into the hallway, Noah looked back at Sledge. Sledge's eyes held his. "Listen to me," Sledge said quietly, so only Noah could hear. "You saw something. You keep telling the truth, and you don't go back to that man." Noah's throat tightened. "He'll come for me." Sledge's mouth set. "Then he comes through me." Mary led Noah into the lobby. The doors opened and the sound of the flood hit them again. Wind, rain, distant shouting, a world still falling apart. Across the parking lot, motorcycles idled in a loose line, their lights cutting through the storm like steady eyes. Noah stared at them, half in shock, not because of the bikes, because they were waiting. Mary stopped under the awning. "I'm taking you to an emergency placement," she said. "It may not be comfortable, but it will be safe." Noah nodded, but his gaze kept drifting to the parking lot, to the riders standing in the rain without flinching, to Sledge coming out behind them with Cass and Wyatt stepping into the storm like it was nothing. Sledge raised his hand once, a small signal. The riders quieted. Then, in the distance beyond the station hill, Noah saw something that made his stomach drop. A yellow shape at the edge of the floodlights, a raincoat, standing beside a parked vehicle half hidden behind an oak. Watching. Noah's breath caught. He grabbed Mary's sleeve. "There," Noah whispered, voice tight. "That's him." Mary turned her head, squinting into the rain. Sledge's gaze followed Noah's. For a second, the yellow figure didn't move. Then the vehicle's headlights flared, and it pulled away smoothly, like it had never been there at all. Sledge stepped off the curb without thinking. Cass grabbed his arm. "Dad, don't!" Sledge stopped, jaw clenched hard enough to crack stone. He watched the taillights vanish into sheets of rain. Then he looked down at Noah. "Remember anything," he said. "Anything at all." Noah's mind raced, replaying the silhouette, the stance, the way the person moved. "One thing," Noah said, shaking. "His boots." Sledge's eyes narrowed. "What about them?" "They weren't work boots," Noah said. "They were uniform boots, like yours." And the way the lobby light had reflected off wet leather. Not a volunteer, not a stranded neighbor, someone trained to stand in storms and not blink, someone who knew how to disappear. Sledge stared into the rain like he was looking at a ghost that finally had a shape. Mary Caldwell tightened her grip on Noah's shoulder. "We're leaving now," she said. Noah nodded, but his heart hammered. Because if the person in the yellow coat was law enforcement, then Rains wasn't just ignoring what Noah saw, he was protecting it. Mary Caldwell drove with both hands locked on the wheel, like she was holding the whole county steady by force. The wipers fought the rain and lost. Water sheeted across the windshield in bright smeared flashes whenever lightning split the sky. Noah sat in the passenger seat, arms wrapped around himself, wrists still pulsing where the cuffs had been. Behind them, the station hill disappeared. "So," Mary said, voice calm but tight, "I'm taking you to the Civic Center. It's the emergency shelter right now. There will be cots, volunteers, a nurse. It's loud, but it's safe." Noah stared out at the floodwater crawling over the roads. "Jeb will come." Mary didn't pretend she didn't understand. "If he tries," she said, "he won't get you. Not tonight." Noah swallowed. "People always say that." Mary glanced at him for half a second. "I'm not people," she said. Then she nodded toward Noah's hands. "Can you move your fingers okay?" Noah flexed them slowly. "Yeah. Good. If they go numb again, you tell me." She paused, then added, "What you said back there, about the shed. You've told anyone before?" Noah's jaw tightened. They don't listen. Mary's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. I'm listening. Noah wanted to dump everything out of his chest, the padlock, the cold nights, the way Jeb smiled when Noah begged, but the words jammed up behind his teeth. Foster kids learned early. The truth wasn't always a lifeline. Sometimes it was a match. So Noah stayed with the one thing that could save other people too. The levee, he said. Someone did it. Mary nodded. Tell me exactly what you saw. Noah described it again. The yellow raincoat, the bolt cutters, the calm, the waiting headlights, the uniform boots. He didn't leave anything out. He forced himself to speak like a witness, not like a kid begging. Mary listened without interrupting, but Noah saw the tiny shifts, how she processed it, how her face tightened when uniform boots came up again. You're sure? She asked. I'm sure, Noah said. I've been around deputies. I know those boots. I saw them in the lobby. Mary's eyes stayed forward. Okay, she said softly. Okay. The Civic Center sat on another hill, lit up like a ship in a storm. Cars jammed the lot. A school bus idled with its hazard lights blinking. People moved in and out carrying blankets, coolers, trash bags full of clothes. The whole town was here, or trying to be. Mary pulled under the awning and killed the engine. Before Noah could reach for the door handle, Mary's hand touched his forearm, not a grip, a steadying point. Noah, she said, I need you to do exactly what I say inside. Stay where I can see you. Don't leave with anyone. If someone tells you they're here to pick you up, you look at me first. Noah nodded. He'll try to sign me out. Let him try, Mary said, and there was steel under the calm. He won't succeed. They stepped out into wind that seemed determined to peel the roof off. Volunteers shouted directions. A man in a soaked hoodie carried an elderly woman like she weighed nothing. Somewhere, a baby wailed. Somewhere else, someone prayed out loud and didn't care who heard. Inside, the air was warm and smelled like wet clothes and instant coffee. Rows of cots lined the basketball court. A folding table near the entrance was stacked with bottled water and granola bars. Nurses in scrubs moved between people like quiet ghosts. Mary guided Noah to a registration desk. A woman with a name tag that read, Linda, looked up. More evacuees? Protective placement, Mary said, flashing her badge. Minor. Linda's expression changed instantly. Got it. We can put him in the back section. Staff-only access. Less chaos. Noah looked past her and saw it, an area cordoned off with temporary barriers, where a few children sat with volunteers, coloring on clipboards under harsh fluorescent light. Mary leaned closer to Noah's ear. You'll be there, she murmured. I'll be right here doing paperwork. You don't move. Noah nodded again, but his eyes drifted to the entrance as the doors opened and a blast of rain came in. Motorcycles. He couldn't see them from inside, but he heard them, deep engines rolling up outside in a slow, deliberate wave. Not the frantic sound of people escaping, a measured arrival. A few shelter volunteers turned their heads, wary. Then the engines cut. The sudden silence after that many bikes felt like a held breath. Noah's stomach tightened. He didn't know if it made him feel safer or more exposed. Mary noticed. They're not here for trouble, she said quietly. I spoke to Mr. Marshall's daughter. They're running rescue routes. Noah's eyes widened. Cass? Mary nodded. She told me you've been helping at the garage. She also told me the deputy who detained you has a history of conflicts with their club. Noah's mouth went dry. Rains. Mary's expression sharpened. Yes. And Noah, you were right to keep talking. Before Noah could answer, another set of doors opened deeper inside the building and a man in a bright orange emergency vest hurried over. Mary, he said, breathless, we've got 2 more rooftops reported down by Pearl Street. We need anyone with boats or high clearance. Mary held up a hand. I'll coordinate. This is my placement. She nodded toward Noah. He stays behind the barrier. No exceptions. The man looked at Noah, then away, like he didn't want to see a kid involved in adult problems. Understood. Mary turned to Noah. Eat something, she said. Drink water. I'll be back. Noah walked to the staff-only section and sat on a cot that squeaked under his weight. A volunteer handed him a granola bar. Noah took it, but didn't open it. He kept watching the doors. Because he'd learned something the hard way. The first quiet after a storm wasn't peace. It was the moment when people decided what they could get away with. Outside, Riverbend was still drowning, and somewhere out there, someone in a yellow raincoat had already gotten away with something huge. Across town, Sledge Marshall didn't go home. He went to the garage, not because the building mattered, but because it was the only place in Riverbend where his people could move without asking permission. The big bay doors were open, letting in wind and rain. Water pooled on the concrete floor. Bikers moved like a practiced crew, dragging chains, loading toolboxes, checking fuel cans. No chaos, just action. Cass stood near the workbench with a phone pressed to her ear, giving directions. "No, don't take Route 18. It's under. Use the service road. If the water's above the footpegs, you turn back. You hear me?" She hung up and looked at her father. "He's at the shelter," she said. Sledge nodded once. "Good." Wyatt sat on an old tire in the corner, wrapped in a blanket, watching every adult face like he was trying to memorize safety. A bearded biker crouched beside him, talking softly, keeping him distracted with a flashlight and shadow puppets. Sledge didn't go to Wyatt yet. He couldn't. Not until he locked down the thing inside his chest that kept trying to explode. He stared at a map spread across the workbench. He jabbed a finger at the levee access road. "That's where the kid said he saw him," Sledge muttered. A man with the braided beard, Rico, leaned in. "Only ways in are the service road, the maintenance gate, or the old farm cut-through." Cass's eyes narrowed. "Maintenance gate has a county lock." Sledge's jaw tightened. "Exactly," Rico scratched his beard. "You think it was one of theirs?" Sledge didn't answer right away. He hated thinking it. But he'd lived long enough to know, sometimes the people who wore the uniform weren't protecting you. They were protecting what they'd built behind your back. Cass slammed a wrench down on the bench. "Dad, if this was sabotage, if they flooded the trailer park," Sledge lifted his gaze to her, "then they didn't just try to wash out homes," he said. "They tried to wash out witnesses." Cass went still, because she understood what he meant. Noah Carter wasn't just a kid who did a good deed. Noah was the kid who looked the wrong person in the eye at the wrong moment. Sledge grabbed his helmet. "Rico, take 3 bikes and check that access road. Don't be seen. Don't start anything. Just look." Rico nodded. "Got it." Cass stepped closer. "And me?" Sledge looked at her. "You stay on rescue. People need pulling off rooftops. That's what we do tonight." Cass's eyes flashed. "And Noah?" Sledge's voice softened just a fraction. "No one touches him while I'm breathing." Back at the Civic Center, Noah tried to eat. The granola bar tasted like cardboard, but he chewed anyway because his stomach was empty and his body was shaking from the adrenaline wearing off. A nurse checked his wrists. "You're lucky," she said, pressing gently. "No nerve damage, but you'll bruise." Noah nodded. A volunteer handed him a blanket. Noah pulled it around his shoulders and forced himself to sit still. Then the barrier gate shifted. Mary Caldwell stepped through with a man behind her. Not Jeb. Someone else, tall, wearing a county windbreaker, hair plastered down by rain. He had a badge clipped to his belt and a tired face that looked like it wanted to be decent, but had been taught not to. Noah's heart jumped. Mary noticed. "Noah," she said calmly, "this is Sergeant Pike. He's not here to question you without me present. He asked to speak because of your statement." Sergeant Pike crouched so he was closer to Noah's level. "Noah Carter," he said, voice low. "I heard you reported possible tampering at the levee." Noah's fingers tightened on the blanket. "I did." Pike's eyes flicked around, checking who could hear. "Deputy Raines didn't file that report," he said quietly. Mary's expression didn't change, but Noah saw her jaw tighten. "Which is why I escalated to you," she said. Pike nodded. "I'm going to ask you again, Noah. I need specifics. I need times, positions, anything that holds up later." Noah took a breath and gave him everything. Where he was, the angle of the access road, the bolt cutters, the waiting headlights. Pike listened and asked only a few questions, precise ones. "What color were the headlights? White? Yellow?" "White," Noah said. "Did the figure favor one leg?" "No." "Did you hear a vehicle model? Engine tone?" Noah shook his head. "Too much rain." Pike exhaled slowly. "Okay." He stood. "Mary, I'll look into the maintenance gate logs." Mary tilted her head. "And Raines?" Pike's eyes hardened. I'll handle my deputy. He started to turn away, then paused and looked back at Noah. His voice dropped even lower. You did a good thing, Pike said, saving that kid. Noah didn't respond. Praise felt like bait. Pike added, almost like an apology, just be careful who you repeat this to. Then he walked away. Mary watched him go, then looked back down at Noah. You hear that? She said softly. Even good people get scared when the wrong names are involved. Noah's mouth was dry. So what do I do? Mary's eyes stayed steady. You keep telling the truth, she said, to the right people, and you stay where I can protect you. Noah nodded, but his stomach churned. Because if a sergeant was warning him to be careful, then the thing Noah had seen in the rain was bigger than one deputy being a jerk. It was a system, and Noah was inside its teeth. An hour later, the doors to the Civic Center opened again. Noah lifted his head automatically. Every time the doors opened, his body prepared for impact. Mary was at the registration table, talking to Linda, and then Noah saw him. Jeb Denton. He stomped in dripping rainwater onto the polished floor like he owned the place. His eyes scanned the shelter fast, hunting. When he spotted Mary, he marched straight toward her. Noah's heartbeat kicked hard. Jeb didn't know where Noah was yet. Noah shrank deeper into the blanket without meaning to. Jeb's voice rose, loud enough that heads turned. There you are. I've been looking all over. They told me my foster was here. Mary didn't back up. Mr. Denton, she said evenly, Noah is under protective placement tonight. Jeb's face reddened. Protective from what? From me. That boy is a liar. He's manipulating you. Mary's tone didn't change. He disclosed allegations of confinement and neglect. He also has visible wrist injury from detention. He will not be released to you tonight. Jeb leaned in, teeth clenched. You don't get to do that. I have papers. Mary gestured toward the side office. We can discuss your paperwork with the on-call judge in the morning. Tonight, he stays. Jeb's eyes moved past Mary, searching, and then they landed on the barrier, on the kids' section, on Noah. Jeb's face shifted into a smile that was all wrong, too calm, too practiced. There you are, he called. Noah's stomach dropped. Mary turned slightly, blocking the line of sight. Noah stays there, she said sharply. Jeb spread his hands like he was the victim here. Look at him, he said to the room, raising his voice. That boy's always playing the poor little orphan, but you people don't know what I deal with. Stealing, lying, running around with bikers. A few evacuees murmured. Some looked away. Some watched with hungry curiosity, like drama was a break from disaster. Noah's face burned. Mary stepped closer to Jeb. Lower your voice, she said. Jeb's eyes glittered. Or what? You'll write on your clipboard. You'll threaten me with the state. He laughed, short and bitter. The state dumps kids on my porch and then tells me I'm not doing enough. Mary's voice sharpened. Leave. Jeb's smile faded. You can't make me. Mary lifted her phone. I can call security. Jeb leaned in, voice dropping so low, only Mary and maybe Noah could catch it. You keep him from me, Jeb hissed, and I'll make sure he ends up somewhere worse than my shed. Noah felt the words land like ice. Mary's face stayed calm, but her eyes went flat. That sounded like a threat, she said. Thank you for saying it in front of witnesses. Jeb blinked, realizing too late he'd stepped wrong. He recovered fast, switching back to loud. I'm his guardian, he shouted. You're kidnapping him. Two volunteers started toward them, uncertain. Then the side doors banged open. A gust of wind and rain blew in, and a line of bikers stepped into the shelter. Not aggressive, not loud, just present. Wet leather, heavy boots, faces like stone. Rico was among them, braid dripping. Cass, too, eyes sharp, jaw set. They didn't spread out like a gang. They formed a quiet wall near the entrance, letting everyone see. You're not alone in this building. Jeb turned, saw the patches, and his confidence faltered. Cass spoke, voice clear. He's a kid, she said. You don't scream at him in a shelter. Jeb's face tightened. Oh, look, he sneered. The biker princess. Cass didn't flinch. Say what you want about me, she said, but you don't get to touch him. Jeb looked around, realizing the room had shifted. The volunteers weren't backing him. The evacuees were watching. Mary stood firm. And now the marshal's people were here, like gravity. Jeb swallowed his anger and did what cowards did when they lost the crowd. He pointed at Noah and forced a thin smile. "Noah," he called, sweet as poison. "Come on, let's go home. We'll talk." Noah didn't move. Wyatt appeared from behind Cass, still wrapped in his blanket, eyes wide. He stared at Jeb like he recognized danger, even without words. "No," Wyatt said, clear and small. Jeb's eyes snapped to the child. "This isn't your business." Wyatt took a step toward Noah. "He saved me," Wyatt said again, louder. "You can't take him." Jeb's face twisted, rage leaking through his fake calm. "Shut!" Cass moved between him and Wyatt instantly. "Finish that sentence," she warned. Jeb shut his mouth. Mary stepped forward. "Mr. Denton," she said, "you are disrupting an emergency shelter. Leave now, or I will have you removed." Jeb looked at Mary, then at Cass, then at the bikers. He tried to find Rains, tried to find his usual shield. But the badge wasn't here, just people, real people, seeing him. Jeb took a step backward, still smiling, still pretending. "Fine," he said, "keep him, but when he lies again, don't say I didn't warn you." He turned, walked toward the doors, then paused and glanced back one last time, eyes locking onto Noah like a hook. Noah felt his throat tighten. Jeb mouthed something without sound. "I'll get you." Then he walked out into the rain. Noah's knees went weak. Mary exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding in fury. Cass's gaze stayed on the door long after it shut. Rico approached Sledge, who had entered quietly behind the others, and spoke in a low voice. "We checked the access road," Rico said. "Maintenance gate lock's fresh, like it was opened recently." Sledge's eyes narrowed. "County lock?" Rico nodded. "And there were tire tracks, not a truck, something with a narrow stance, like a county SUV." Cass's jaw tightened. So Noah was right. Sledge looked past them to Noah sitting on the cot, wrapped in a blanket too thin for what he'd been through. He walked to the barrier and stopped, not crossing into the kids' section without permission. "Noah," Sledge said quietly. Noah lifted his head. Sledge's voice was steady, but there was something raw under it now. "Rico found fresh signs at the maintenance gate," he said, "and tracks that match county vehicles." Noah's chest tightened. "So it was them." Mary stepped closer, careful. "We can't say them yet," she said. "We can say someone with access. We can build it." Sledge nodded once, but his eyes didn't soften. "We're going to build it," he said, "fast." Cass leaned in toward Mary. "If this is tied to the county," she murmured, "we need proof before they bury it." Mary's expression hardened. "Agreed." Sledge looked at Noah. "You remember those boots?" he said. "Anything else? A patch? A radio? A smell?" Noah's mind raced. He forced himself to replay the yellow figure at the edge of the floodlights, and then it hit him. Small, stupid, specific. "A keychain," Noah said suddenly. "On his belt. It swung when he turned." Sledge's eyes narrowed. "What kind?" Noah swallowed. "Metal. Bright. Like a bad-shaped bottle opener. I've seen deputies carry those." Mary's gaze sharpened. "That matters," she said. Sledge's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, then at Cass. "Another call," he said. "Pearl Street. Family trapped." Cass nodded immediately. "We go." Sledge started to turn away, then paused and looked back at Noah again. "You stay," he said, voice firm. "You don't try to be brave and run off." Noah almost laughed. Brave had never been the problem. Being alone after was. "I'll stay," Noah said. Sledge held his gaze a beat longer, like he was filing Noah into the part of his life he protected without question. Then he turned and left with Cass and Rico. The shelter doors opened again, wind slammed in. Then they were gone into the flood. Noah sat there with the blanket around his shoulders and the noise of the shelter pressing in on him. For the first time all night, he let himself breathe. And that's when someone slid onto the cot beside him. Noah tensed, turning fast. It was Deputy Ellis. No badge showing now. Hood up. No radio. Just a tired young man with a face that looked like it hadn't slept in days. Ellis didn't look at Noah right away. He stared at his own hands. "I shouldn't be here," Ellis said quietly. Noah's heartbeat sped. "Why are you here?" Ellis swallowed. "Because you were right," he whispered, "and because if you keep talking, Rains is going to crush you." Noah went cold. He already tried. Ellis nodded once, barely. I saw the report, he said. The missing property report. It's not real. There's no resident. There's no address. Raines typed it himself. Noah stared at him. Why? Ellis's voice shook. Because he needed a reason to hold you, to scare you, to make you shut up. Noah's fingers tightened on the blanket. So who was in the yellow raincoat? Ellis finally looked at him, and the look on his face made Noah's stomach drop. I don't know, Ellis said, but I know who Raines met with an hour before the levee failed. Noah leaned forward. Who? Ellis's lips parted, and the shelter's main doors slammed open so hard the whole room flinched. A volunteer shouted, Security! Mary Caldwell's voice cut through the noise, sharp. Noah, behind me! Ellis's head snapped toward the entrance, fear flashing across his face. Noah turned and saw Jeb Denton walking back in, not alone this time. He had a man with him in a yellow raincoat, and the man's boots were polished black uniform leather. Then the man pushed his hood back, and Noah recognized Deputy Raines. For a second, the whole shelter forgot how to breathe. Raines stood in the entrance with the yellow raincoat hanging open, hood down, water streaming off his shoulders like he'd stepped out of the river itself. His uniform boots gleamed under the fluorescent lights, polished black, exactly what Noah had seen at the edge of the floodlights outside the station. Jeb Denton hovered half a step behind him, face set in that smug, relieved look he wore when he thought he'd brought the hammer home. Deputy Ellis froze on the cot beside Noah. The color drained out of his face so fast it looked like someone had unplugged him. Mary Caldwell moved instantly, cutting across the kids' section and putting her body between Noah and the entrance. Noah, she said, low and firm. Stay behind me. Noah's throat tightened. His hands clenched the blanket like it could turn into armor. Raines didn't rush. He didn't need to. He walked in with the slow, controlled confidence of a man who expected doors to open for him. A volunteer in a security vest stepped forward. Sir, you can't. Raines flashed his badge so quickly it was just a silver blur. County Sheriff's Office, he said. Step aside. This is a shelter, the volunteer insisted. We have minors. I'm here for a minor, Raines cut in. He pointed past Mary, straight at Noah. That one, Noah Carter, he's leaving with his guardian. Mary's voice sharpened. He is not. Jeb's smile twitched. Mary, he called like they were old friends, tell him you're done playing hero. The boy's coming home. Mary didn't look at Jeb. Her eyes stayed on Raines. Noah is in protective placement due to disclosed allegations of confinement and neglect. You do not have authority to remove him without an emergency court order. Raines's mouth curved slightly. And you don't have authority to hold him from his guardian without due process. Mary lifted her phone. I'll call the judge right now. Raines's eyes flicked to the phone, then back to Mary. Go ahead, he said, voice calm. In the meantime, I'm taking him. You can file your complaints later. A ripple moved through the shelter. Murmurs, people shifting, heads turning. A few evacuees stood up, uncertain if they should step in or step away. Noah glanced to the side. The barrier was between him and the entrance, but not enough. If Raines decided to walk around Mary, there was nothing physical stopping him except bodies, and bodies were fragile things. Ellis leaned closer to Noah, barely moving his lips. Don't talk, he whispered. Not here. Noah's eyes darted to him. Why? Ellis's gaze stayed locked on Raines. Because he wants you to. Mary's voice rose, cutting through the shelter noise. Deputy Raines, I'm instructing you to leave. You are escalating a situation with children present. Raines took another step forward. I'm de-escalating, he said, and his tone made the word ugly. By removing the problem, Jeb pointed, voice loud, feeding on the attention. You all don't know him. He steals. He lies. He's been sniffing around bikers like he's one of them. He's dangerous. Wyatt's voice came from behind a row of cots, small but clear. He saved me. Cass Marshall appeared at the edge of the crowd, pushing forward from the entrance side. Her eyes went straight to Raines, then to Jeb, and her jaw tightened. Cass, Mary said sharply without turning. Not now. Keep your people outside. Cass stopped herself, but the way she stared at Raines promised she'd remember every detail of this moment. Raines noticed Cass and smirked. Ah, he said, here comes the welcoming committee. Mary held her ground. You will not remove Noah from this shelter without a court order. Rains stepped closer, voice dropping so only Mary and the nearest people could hear. Mary, he said, don't be stubborn. I'm doing you a favor. Denton wants him. He'll get him eventually. Let's not make paperwork into a public scene. Mary's eyes went flat. You're already making it public. Rains's smile faded. Then you'll regret it. Noah's chest tightened. He remembered the yellow raincoat outside. He remembered the bolt cutters in the water. He remembered the waiting headlights. And now he was watching the same man try to walk into a shelter and take him like property. The shelter doors opened again. Another gust of wind, another spray of rain. And this time, the sound outside wasn't a motorcycle engine. It was a truck door slamming. Then another. Then a chorus of boots on wet pavement. Noah didn't understand it at first. The shelter was noisy. The storm was loud. But something in the rhythm of it made people turn their heads. Rains turned too, annoyed. A man in a county windbreaker stepped into the doorway, shaking off rain. Sergeant Pike. He scanned the room fast, eyes landing on Rains, then on Mary, then, briefly, on Noah. Deputy Rains, Pike said, voice carrying without shouting. What are you doing? Rains's posture tightened. Sergeant, he said, forcing respect into his tone. I'm retrieving a minor for his guardian. CPS is unlawfully holding him. Mary lifted her phone. Sergeant Pike, I have a protective placement in effect. Deputy Rains is attempting to remove the child without court authorization. Pike's gaze sharpened. Is that true? Rains held his chin high. We're in an emergency. The guardian has custody. CPS is overstepping. Pike stepped farther into the shelter, rain dripping off his sleeves. Rains, he said, quieter now but harder. Step outside with me. Rains didn't move. With respect, Sergeant, I'm in the middle of... Outside, Pike repeated. Now. For a split second, Rains's eyes flashed. Anger, calculation. He glanced at Jeb. Jeb's face tightened, but he kept his mouth shut. He knew better than to argue with a sergeant in public. Rains turned and walked toward Pike with forced calm, like he was doing Pike a favor by complying. They moved just outside the shelter doors into the wet night. The wind swallowed part of their conversation, but Noah saw Pike's posture, square, controlled, not yielding. Mary didn't relax. She stayed between Noah and the entrance, phone still in hand. Ellis exhaled shakily. He came back with him, Noah whispered. Jeb came back with him. Mary's voice was tight. Because they thought you were alone. Noah's hands shook. He was the one in the raincoat. Mary didn't answer, but her eyes said she believed it. Outside, Pike and Rains argued in short bursts. Rains gestured once, sharp, like he was insisting. Pike didn't budge. Then Pike's voice rose enough that even inside the shelter people caught pieces. Not how we do this. Rains's response was too low to hear. Pike said louder. You filed a looting report with no complainant. The shelter went still again. Noah's stomach dropped. So Pike knew. Rains spun slightly, saw the faces watching through the glass, and his expression tightened. Pike took a step closer to him. And you were at the station, Pike continued, voice cutting through the storm, wearing a raincoat that matches the description given by this miner. Rains's head snapped. Now you're taking a foster kid's fairy tale as evidence? Pike didn't blink. I'm taking procedures seriously, which you don't seem interested in. Rains's jaw flexed. You want to do this now, in front of a shelter? I'm doing it now because you brought it here, Pike said. Then, quieter. Hand me your keys. Rains stared. What? Your keys, Pike repeated. Your vehicle keys, your county-issued keys, now. Rains laughed, but it sounded wrong. You're out of your mind. Pike's eyes went cold. You refuse a direct order? Rains's smile vanished. For a moment Noah thought Rains might actually swing. Not at Pike, he wasn't stupid, but at something else, at the whole situation. Rains leaned in close to Pike and hissed something Noah couldn't hear. Pike's face tightened. Then Pike stepped back and spoke clearly, loud enough for the people inside to hear. Deputy Rains, he said, you are relieved pending inquiry. You will return all county property immediately. Inside the shelter, the air cracked. Jeb's face went pale. Cass, standing near the entrance, went very still, like a predator spotting weakness. Rains's eyes burned. He looked through the glass at Noah, straight through Mary's shoulder like Mary wasn't even there. And Noah realized something that made his blood run cold. Rains didn't care about custody. Rains cared about silence. Pike reached toward Rains's belt for his keyring. Rains jerked back. "Don't!" he snapped, voice sharp. Pike's hand paused. "Don't make this worse." Rains smiled. Small, vicious. Worse for who? Then Rains turned abruptly and strode back into the shelter. Mary stiffened. "Stop!" she warned. Rains ignored her and walked straight toward the kids' section, eyes locked on Noah. Noah's heart slammed against his ribs. He scooted back on the cot, but there was nowhere to go. Ellis sprang up, stepping into the narrow gap between Rains and Noah. "Deputy, Rains, stop!" Ellis stammered, hands up. Rains's gaze flicked to Ellis like he was a fly. "Move." Ellis didn't move. Rains's hand shot out and shoved Ellis hard enough that Ellis stumbled into the cot row, crashing down. Noah stood up, shock and fury mixing. "Don't touch him!" Rains's eyes flashed. "Shut your mouth!" Mary stepped in, phone raised like she'd use it as a weapon. "Deputy Rains, you are trespassing in a protected placement." Rains swung his arm and slapped the phone out of Mary's hand. It skittered across the floor. People shouted. Volunteers surged forward but hesitated, because a badge still triggered an old instinct in them, even when the man wearing it was wrong. Rains grabbed Noah's sleeve. The contact felt like a trap snapping shut. Noah jerked away, but Rains's grip was iron. "You're coming," Rains hissed. "Right now." Noah tried to twist free. The blanket slipped off his shoulders and hit the floor. His wrists still hurt. His body still felt weak from the flood and the adrenaline. He couldn't win a strength fight. So he did the only thing he had. He shouted the truth. "He was the one in the yellow raincoat," Noah yelled, voice tearing through the shelter. "He was at the levee with bolt cutters." The room erupted. Gasps, shouts. Someone screamed, "What?" Rains's face contorted with rage. "You little—" And that's when the doors slammed open again, and Cass Marshall moved like a bullet. She didn't swing a fist. She didn't need to. She grabbed a folding chair and shoved it sideways into the aisle between Rains and Noah, slamming it down like a barrier. "Back off," she snapped. Rains' eyes widened, not because he was scared of Cass, because he was suddenly aware of how many people were watching, how many phones were up, how many witnesses he couldn't intimidate all at once. Sergeant Pike rushed in behind her, soaking wet, face hard. "Rains!" he barked. "Hands off the kid!" Rains released Noah as if Noah had turned into fire. For 1 second, Noah swayed, breath coming in broken bursts, eyes stinging with tears he refused to let fall. Jeb Denton seized the moment, stepping forward with fake outrage. "This is insane," he shouted. "He's lying. He's trying to." Cass whipped her head toward Jeb. "Get out," she said, voice lethal. Jeb flinched, but kept talking, feeding on panic. "He's manipulating you. He's a foster. He's—" Wyatt's voice cut through the chaos again, louder than before. "I saw him," Wyatt said. Everyone turned. The boy stood behind Cass, blanket around his shoulders, eyes wide but steady. He pointed a trembling finger at Rains. "I saw him," Wyatt repeated, "at the fence, when Noah pulled me up. He was down the street. Watching." Silence hit like a slap. Rains's face went blank. Pike stared at Wyatt. "Wyatt," he said gently. "Are you sure?" Wyatt nodded hard, tears shining. "He had a yellow coat," Wyatt said, "and he looked mad." Cass's hand went to Wyatt's shoulder, steadying him. "Baby," she murmured. Mary Caldwell, recovering her phone from the floor, looked up with something like grim satisfaction. "2 witnesses," she said quietly. "Noted." Rains's eyes darted, calculating, looking for exits. Pike stepped forward, voice iron. "Deputy Rains," he said, "you will surrender your badge and weapon, now." Rains smiled again, but it was cracked now. "You want my badge?" he said. "In a shelter, with civilians, in a flood. You want to start a panic?" Pike didn't blink. "I want to stop you." Rains leaned slightly toward Pike. "Then you better do it quick," he murmured. Pike's jaw tightened. He reached for his radio, and in that instant, Jeb Denton made a move. He lunged toward Noah, not fast, not skilled, desperate, but he was closer than anyone expected. Noah's body reacted before his brain did. He stepped back, tripped over the edge of the fallen blanket, and stumbled toward the barrier. Jeb's hand snatched at Noah's shirt. Noah twisted and felt the fabric tear. A loud rip. Noah yanked free, but his shirt collar ripped open, exposing his shoulder, and on Noah's shoulder, under the harsh shelter lights, was a bruise shaped like fingers, old enough not to be fresh, new enough not to be ancient. The entire room saw it. Jeb froze mid-lunge, eyes wide, realizing what he'd revealed. Mary's voice went cold. "That," she said, "is an injury consistent with restraint." Cass stared at the bruise, then looked at Jeb with a kind of quiet fury that was worse than shouting. Pike's face hardened. "Denton," he said, "step away from the miner." Jeb's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Raines's gaze flicked to the bruise, and for the first time, Noah saw something like worry flash across his face. Because the story was slipping out of his control. Phones were up now, people filming openly, volunteers whispering, evacuees murmuring names. Raines backed up half a step, eyes darting like a man looking for his next move. Pike took a step forward. Raines's hand twitched toward his belt, and the entire shelter leaned into the moment, waiting for the snap. Mary grabbed Noah's arm and pulled him back behind her, voice urgent. "Noah, stay behind me. Do not move." Noah's breath came fast. His ears rang. His hands shook. And then, over the chaos, a new sound rolled in from outside. Not one bike, not a few. A swelling layered thunder of engines, dozens, then hundreds, coming up the hill in a slow, deliberate wave. The shelter doors shook with the vibration. Cass's head snapped toward the entrance. Rico's eyes widened. "No," he breathed. Sledge's voice came from the back of the room, low and incredulous. "They came." The sound grew until it felt like the building itself was humming. Then, one by one, engines cut. Silence dropped. Heavy, impossible. A volunteer stumbled to the doors and pushed them open. Outside, through sheets of rain lit by floodlights, the parking lot was filled. Bikes, rows upon rows, headlights like a field of steady stars. Hundreds of riders, sitting still, facing the shelter. And in the front line, a man stepped off his bike and walked forward. He wore no raincoat, just a soaked cut with a patch that made even the most stubborn people in Riverbend recognize what it meant. Sledge walked to the edge of the awning and looked into the shelter. His gaze went straight to Noah, then to Raines, then to Jeb. He lifted his chin slightly and spoke, voice carrying even through rain. "This boy isn't leaving with anyone," Sledge said, "not unless it's by his choice." Raines's jaw clenched. Pike stepped beside Sledge under the awning, eyes flicking to the sea of bikes. "Mr. Marshall," Pike said, controlled, "this is escalating." Sledge didn't look away from the shelter interior. "It's not escalation," he said. "It's protection." Then Sledge raised his hand, palm down, and every rider outside, hundreds, tilted their heads forward in a single solemn bow, not for the camera, not for show, for Noah. Noah's throat tightened so hard he couldn't breathe. Inside the shelter, even people who hated bikers went silent, because it wasn't threat, it was respect. And in that silence, Raines understood something. He couldn't crush Noah in the dark anymore, not with this many witnesses, not with this many eyes, not with 637 bikes outside, ready to remember his name forever. Raines backed up another step, face tight, trying to calculate his way out. Pike's voice turned sharp. "Deputy Raines," he said, "last warning. Surrender your badge." Raines's gaze flicked once more to Noah, burning, and Noah knew, deep in his bones, that this wasn't over. Because men like Raines didn't lose. They just changed tactics. The bow outside lasted only a few seconds, but it changed the air in the Civic Center the way a power outage changes a room. Suddenly, everyone realized what mattered. Sledge lowered his hand. The riders stayed still, engines off, rain rolling over helmets and shoulders, like the weather was just another thing they refused to react to. Inside, Sergeant Pike kept his eyes on Raines. "Badge," he repeated, "now." Raines's face was tight, but he wasn't stupid. Not with 200 phones up, not with a shelter full of witnesses, and not with that many bikes outside. He reached slowly to his belt, unhooked the badge, and held it between two fingers like it was dirty. Pike took it. Weapon. Raines's nostrils flared. He glanced toward the doors, toward the parking lot, toward the bowed line of riders. His pride wanted a fight. His survival instinct wanted an exit. He unholstered his sidearm carefully and handed it grip first to Pike. The room exhaled. Pike turned to a security volunteer. Call county, get another unit here, now. Then, to Rains, you're going to sit in that office until transport arrives. Rains's eyes flicked to Noah again, sharp, promising. Then he looked away like Noah wasn't worth the trouble anymore. Jeb Denton tried to recover his voice. "This is insane," he said loudly, aiming for the crowd again. "You're all letting a biker gang run this shelter." Cass stepped forward one step, not crossing any line, just claiming space. "You keep saying gang like it makes you clean," she said. "Everybody in this room saw your hand on him." Mary Caldwell lifted her clipboard. "Mr. Denton," she said, voice level, "you are not leaving this building with Noah, and given what occurred here, you may not leave this building without speaking to law enforcement and shelter management." Jeb's eyes widened. "You can't hold me." Pike looked at him. "I can," he said. "For disorderly conduct and for making physical contact with a minor you do not have immediate custody of at this moment. Sit down." Jeb's face flushed a deep, ugly red. He glanced at the crowd, searching for sympathy. He didn't find it. He found tired people with wet shoes and empty houses who had no patience for a man trying to bully a kid in a shelter. Jeb swallowed and stepped back, hands raised. "Fine," he said, voice thinner now. "Fine. But this is my foster. You can't just take him." Mary didn't blink. "Watch me." Noah stood behind Mary, chest heaving, shirt collar torn open, bruise exposed. Every instinct in him screamed to cover it, to hide it, to make himself smaller so the world would stop looking. But he forced his arms to stay at his sides, because hiding had never saved him. Wyatt slipped through the cots and hugged Noah around the waist again, careful of the bruise like he understood pain without being told. Noah rested a hand on the boy's shoulder, grounding himself. Sledge stepped inside fully now, water dripping onto the polished floor. He kept his hands visible, not giving anyone an excuse to paint him as the threat. He stopped near Mary, gaze steady. "Caldwell," he said. "Where are you taking him?" Mary's face was tired, but firm. "Not back to that house," she said. "Tonight he stays in staff-protected placement. Tomorrow we go before an emergency judge." Cass spoke, tight. "Tomorrow's too long." Mary met her eyes. "Tomorrow's how it becomes legal," she said. "If I move him into a private home without an order, Denton can claim kidnapping. That gives him leverage." "I'm not giving him leverage." Sledge nodded once. He didn't like it, but he understood systems. He'd fought enough of them to learn when patience was a weapon. "Then you need guards," he said, and his voice made it a statement, not a suggestion. Mary exhaled. "Shelter security is here." Sledge looked out through the glass at the line of bikes. "So am I." Pike moved toward the small office near the registration desk, guiding Rains with a hand on his elbow. Rains walked like he still owned the floor, even without a badge. As the office door closed, Noah caught a last glimpse of his face, cold, controlled, not defeated. Ellis hovered near Noah, pale and shaken. He kept wiping rainwater off his hands like he couldn't get clean. Noah leaned closer, voice low. "You said you knew who Rains met before the levee failed." Ellis flinched. "Not here," he whispered. His eyes flicked to the office door. "Not with him in there." Noah swallowed. "Then when?" Ellis's voice shook. "When I'm not in uniform," he said. "When I'm not standing in front of a wall of bikes." He swallowed hard. "He met someone from Halford Development." Noah stared. "The company that's been buying up land?" Ellis nodded quickly. "They've been circling the trailer park for months, offering cash. People refused." His eyes darted again. "Rains met their guy behind the station. I saw the SUV, dark, county style. But it wasn't county plates." Mary's head turned slightly, catching the words. "Ellis," she said, calm but sharp, "if you have information, you give it to Sergeant Pike." Ellis swallowed. "I can't," he whispered. "Not yet. Pike's decent, but Pike answers to a captain, and the captain answers to—" He stopped, jaw tight, unable to say it out loud. Sledge heard enough. He stepped closer, voice low. "You're scared," he said to Ellis. Ellis's eyes flashed with shame. "Yeah," he admitted. Sledge didn't mock him. "Good," he said. "Fear means you still know right from wrong." Ellis stared at him, stunned by that. Mary glanced between them. "Noah," she said, "you're coming with me to the staff room, now." Noah nodded. Wyatt tightened his grip like he didn't want to let go. Cass crouched beside Wyatt. "Hey," she said softly. "You did good. You hear me?" She brushed wet hair off his forehead. Go with Grandma's friend for a bit. I'm right here. Wyatt's lower lip trembled. He looked at Noah. Are they going to take you? Noah forced his voice steady. Not tonight, he said. Wyatt held Noah for one more second, then let go reluctantly and returned to Cass, still watching Noah like a kid watching the only light he trusts. Mary guided Noah through a side door into a smaller room with 2 desks, a microwave, and a window that looked out onto the parking lot. The line of bikes was visible from here, still, silent, patient. Mary shut the door. The noise of the shelter dulled instantly. Noah's body finally let the shock hit him. His hands trembled. His knees felt weak. Mary pulled a chair out. Sit, she said. Noah sat. Mary knelt in front of him, voice softer now. I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to answer honestly, she said. Has Jeb Denton ever been physically violent with you? Noah's throat tightened. He stared at the floor. Mary didn't rush him. She waited like she knew silence could be a shield in a prison. Yes, Noah said finally, barely audible. Mary nodded once, writing. How often? Noah swallowed. When he's mad, when money's tight, when he drinks. He forced himself to keep going. Sometimes he doesn't hit. He squeezes, leaves marks where nobody sees. Mary's eyes flicked to Noah's shoulder bruise again. And confinement, she said. The shed. Noah's jaw clenched. He locks it from the outside, he said. No light, smells like gas. He says it teaches me. Mary's pen paused for just a fraction of a second, then continued. Her voice stayed controlled, but Noah could hear anger under it. Do you have a key to that lock? Noah shook his head. He keeps it, Mary wrote again. Food deprivation? Noah hesitated, then nodded. Sometimes. Mary exhaled slowly, like she was holding her own emotion down by force. Okay, she said. Okay, that's enough for now. Noah looked up. What happens to me? Mary's gaze held his. Tonight, you stay here with staff and security, she said. Tomorrow I request an emergency protective order and petition for removal from Denton's home. And if they don't give it? Noah asked, voice cracking. Mary didn't lie. Then we appeal, she said, and we keep documenting. But Noah, after what happened out there, after your bruise was seen, Denton's position just got weaker. Noah's stomach churned. He gets money for keeping me, he said quietly. Mary's expression sharpened. Yes, she said, stipends, reimbursements, sometimes extras if he claims you require special supervision. Noah felt sick. So I'm a check. Mary didn't deny it. To him, she said. To you, you're a child who deserves a home that isn't a business model. Noah stared at the table. The words felt too big to hold. Mary stood. I need you to do something, she said. Think. Try to remember anything that proves the shed, proves the lock, proves the bruises, photos, texts, neighbors who heard you. Anything. Noah's mind raced. Mrs. Talley, he said suddenly. Next trailer over, she heard him yelling once. She asked me if I was okay. Mary wrote the name. Good, she said. Noah swallowed. And Jeb's friend, he added. He comes around sometimes, drives a white truck. He calls Jeb partner. Mary's eyes narrowed. Do you know his name? Noah shook his head. Just partner. That's what I heard. Mary wrote it anyway. That might connect to the development company, she murmured. Noah's pulse spiked. So it's real, he said. They flooded us on purpose. Mary didn't answer directly. She walked to the window and looked out at the bikes. I can't accuse without proof, she said. But yes, Noah, it's possible. And your statement matters. Noah's voice went small. Then they'll come for me. Mary turned back. They already tried, she said, and they failed. A knock sounded on the staff room door. Mary opened it halfway. Cass stood there, rain still on her cap, eyes intense. Caldwell, she said quietly. Denton's outside. Noah's stomach dropped. Outside the shelter? Cass nodded. Not at the door, she said. Across the lot, under the trees, watching. Her jaw tightened. And he's on the phone. Mary's face went hard. Okay, she said. Sledge is still here? Cass nodded. Front line. Mary closed the door and looked at Noah. You're not going near a window, she said. Noah's voice shook. He's calling Rains. Mary's gaze sharpened. Rains is contained, she said, but Denton can call other people. That's why you stay locked in here with me until we move you deeper into staff-only rooms. Noah nodded, heart hammering. Mary reached into a cabinet, pulled out a spare hoodie from the shelter supply, and handed it to him. Put this on, she said. Cover the bruise, not to hide it, just to stop people staring. Noah pulled it over his head with shaking hands. Mary took a breath, then spoke like she was setting a stake into the ground. Noah, she said, tomorrow you do not speak to Denton alone. Not in a hallway, not in a bathroom, not in a parking lot. Not once. Noah nodded. Mary opened the door again. Cass, she said, I need a shelter staff escort in a secure room with no exterior windows. Now? Cass nodded. Got it. Mary turned back to Noah. Stand up, she said. Noah stood. As Mary guided him out through the side corridor, Noah caught a glimpse through a narrow window in the hallway. The parking lot, the lines of bikes, the rain, and beyond them, under the trees, Jeb Denton, a dark shape with a phone pressed to his ear, watching the building like it owed him his property back. Noah kept walking, not looking again. They moved Noah through back corridors that smelled like mop water and old gym mats, past a storage room stacked with folded cots and boxes labeled blankets. 2 shelter staffers walked in front, Mary at Noah's shoulder, Cass behind like a silent guardrail. No exterior windows, Mary ordered quietly. Conference room B, a staffer said. No windows, solid door. They slid Noah inside. The room was bare, a long table, plastic chairs, a bulletin board, and a humming fluorescent light that made everything look too honest. Mary shut the door and clicked the latch. Noah's chest was still tight from seeing Jeb under the trees. Mary set her clipboard down and checked her phone, then looked at Cass. Where's Sergeant Pike? Cass's jaw flexed. With Rains, county transport finally arrived. Mary nodded once. Good. Cass folded her arms. Denton's still out there. Noah's voice came out rough. He's calling someone. Cass's gaze flicked to him. Yeah, she said, and he's not calling for a ride home. Mary held up a hand. Cass, I need you to do something for me, she said. Go back out there. Don't engage. Just watch. If Denton approaches the building, you alert staff and security. If anyone else pulls in, any county vehicle, note it. Plate if you can. Cass nodded. Got it. Before she turned to leave, she looked at Noah. You're not alone, she said. It wasn't soft. It was a statement, like a bolt being thrown. Then she was gone. The moment the door shut, the room went quiet enough that Noah could hear his own breathing. Mary sat across from him. You're doing okay, she said. Noah stared at the table. I'm not. Mary didn't argue. Then you're doing what you can, she corrected. Noah's hands were still shaking. He shoved them under the sleeves of the hoodie. Mary leaned forward. Noah, I need to prepare you for something, she said. Denton may try a different tactic now. He may cry. He may apologize. He may tell you he'll change. Noah's mouth twisted. He won't. I know, Mary said. But he'll perform it because performance works on systems. Noah looked up. What if the judge sends me back? Mary held his gaze. Then I file an emergency motion the same hour, she said. And if I have to, I take this to state oversight. You have witnesses now. You have visible injuries. You have a documented incident in a public shelter. That's not a private rumor anymore. Noah swallowed. And the levy? Mary's eyes sharpened. That's separate but connected, she said. If the levy was sabotaged, people will want to bury it. That means they'll want to bury you, which is why we're keeping you out of reach. Noah's stomach flipped. Out of reach for how long? Mary didn't give him a fake comfort. Long enough to get legal protection, she said, and long enough to get your statement into the right hands. A knock sounded at the door. Mary stood instantly and opened it a crack. A staffer whispered, Sergeant Pike is here. Mary nodded. Send him. Pike stepped in, dripping rain, hair flattened, face tired in a way that looked older than him. He closed the door behind himself and checked the latch like he didn't trust the building. His eyes went to Noah. You okay? He asked. Noah didn't answer right away. He didn't know how to measure okay. Mary spoke for him. He's shaken, she said, and he's staying protected. Pike nodded, then looked at Mary. Rains is in a county unit, he said low. He's not free, but he's not in cuffs either. Mary's jaw tightened. Why not? Pike's mouth twitched like he hated the answer. Because internal wants process. Because it's a flood and they don't want optics. Because my captain told me to cool it. Noah felt cold spread through his chest. So he walks. Pike looked at Noah, then away. For tonight he's contained, he said. I've got his badge and weapon logged. That matters. Mary's voice stayed hard. It's not enough. Pike nodded once. I agree. He took a breath. Noah, I'm going to record a formal statement from you, right now, on my device, with Mary present. If anything happens later, that statement exists. Noah's throat tightened. Will it disappear? Pike met his gaze. Not if I do this correctly, he said, and I intend to. Pike pulled a small recorder from his pocket and set it on the table. State your name, he said. Noah Carter. Date and time, Pike added. Mary answered, precise. February 9th, approximately, she checked her phone, 11:42 p.m. Pike nodded and looked back at Noah. Tell me everything you saw at the levee. Start from when you heard the scream. Noah spoke. He didn't dramatize. He didn't beg. He laid out the sequence like it was a chain, and he was handing Pike every link. The fence, the ditch, Wyatt's wristband, the church steps, the figure in yellow near the access road, the bolt cutters lifted out of the water, the waiting headlights, the uniform boots, the bad-shaped bottle opener, the way the figure looked up and met Noah's eyes without panic. When Noah finished, the room was silent except for the recorder's faint hum. Pike exhaled and pressed stop. Good, he said quietly. Now, Rico's report about the maintenance gate. You understand what that implies? That whoever opened it had the key, Noah said. Pike nodded. County key, he confirmed, which narrows possibilities. His eyes hardened. It also means the levee failure might not be an accident. Mary's voice turned colder. You're going to pursue that? Pike looked at her. I'm going to try, he said, and I'm going to do it without tipping off the wrong people. Noah watched him carefully. The wrong people like your captain. Pike's jaw tightened. The wrong people like anyone who wants this to stay quiet, he said. Then he looked at Noah again, steadier. Noah, Deputy Ellis told me he saw Rains with someone from Halford Development before the breach. Noah's pulse jumped. Ellis told you? He didn't give names, Pike said, but he gave enough, and I checked something. Pike pulled his phone out, scrolled, then set it on the table so Mary could see. Halford filed for rezoning again last month. The trailer park sits on the floodplain. They've been trying to buy it cheap. Mary's eyes narrowed. A flood makes cheap easier. Pike nodded. Exactly. Noah's stomach churned. So they flooded us. Pike didn't give him certainty. I'm not saying that yet, he said. I'm saying motive exists, and your account suggests opportunity. Mary leaned back, expression tight. If you push this and it's true, they'll come at you too. Pike's eyes flicked to the door as if he expected someone to be listening. I know, he said. Another knock came, harder this time. Mary stood again, opened the door a crack. Cass's voice came through, low and urgent. Mary, now. Mary stepped into the hallway for a second. Noah couldn't hear everything, but he caught pieces. Denton moved. Black SUV, not county plates. Mary came back in fast. Noah, she said, voice clipped. We're relocating you again. Deeper, staff only. Noah's chest tightened. Why? Pike answered before Mary could. Because Denton isn't alone out there anymore, he said. And because if that SUV is Halford, they're not here for conversation. Mary grabbed her clipboard. Noah, stand up, she said. Noah stood, legs stiff. Pike pocketed the recorder. I'm going with you, he said. Mary shot him a look. That's a risk. Pike's face was grim. So is leaving him with only a clipboard between him and those people. Mary didn't argue. She just opened the door and moved. They guided Noah through another corridor, quieter, darker, the building's belly. Noah kept his eyes forward, but he felt the weight of the parking lot beyond the walls, the bikes, the trees, the waiting vehicles. As they reached the staff stairwell, Noah heard a faint sound through the concrete, a car horn, then another, short, impatient bursts. Pike's face tightened. They're trying to draw attention, he muttered. Mary pushed the stairwell door open. Keep moving, she ordered. Noah moved, and somewhere above them, in the shelter's main room, the first shout rose, sharp, frightened, like someone had just seen a familiar face at the wrong door. The staff stairwell smelled like concrete and bleach. Mary pushed Noah ahead of her, one hand at the small of his back like she could physically steer danger away. Pike took the rear, pausing at each landing to listen. Above them, the shelter's main room erupted into overlapping noise, shouts, chairs scraping, someone yelling for security. The building had been tense all night, but this sounded different. This sounded like a line had been crossed. Cass's voice echoed down the stairwell, amplified by the concrete. "Keep kids back. Don't let anyone—" A door slammed. Noah's heart punched his ribs. "What's happening?" Mary didn't slow. "A distraction," she said, "or an entry attempt." Pike's jaw tightened. "Both," he muttered. They reached the basement-level staff corridor, narrow, lit by harsher lights, with utility rooms and a maintenance office. Mary unlocked a door marked Authorized Personnel Only and ushered Noah inside. It wasn't a proper room, more like a break area for janitorial staff. Lockers, a sink, a stack of mop heads, and a single cot set up against the wall. "No windows," Mary said, scanning. "Good." Noah sat without being told. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. He pressed them together until his knuckles hurt. Pike stood by the door, listening, shoulders squared. Mary pulled her phone out and dialed quickly. "Linda, this is Caldwell. I need security to the south entrance now, not the main doors, south. There's a vehicle out there drawing attention." She paused, listened. Then her voice dropped. "Yes. Also lock the exterior access points. No exceptions." She ended the call and turned to Pike. "Cass saw a black SUV," she said. "No county plates." Pike's eyes narrowed. "Halford," he said, not a question anymore. Noah swallowed. "They're here for me." Mary met his gaze. "They're here to stop you from becoming a problem," she said. "That's not your fault. That's proof you matter." Above them, another shout, closer this time. A thud like a shoulder hitting a door. Then, a woman's scream, cut short by someone calming her. Pike pressed his ear to the corridor door. "They're moving," he said. Noah's voice came out thin. "Rains isn't here, right?" Pike's eyes stayed on the door. "Rains doesn't need to be here," he said. "If he set it up?" Mary's face hardened. "If anyone enters this corridor, I want it recorded," she said, lifting her phone. "Noah, if someone says your name, you do not answer." Noah nodded. His throat felt like sandpaper. Then a new sound rolled through the building, deep and layered like distant thunder returning. Motorcycles, not the big wave from earlier, something tighter, moving fast, circling, engines revving, cutting, revving again. A pattern. Pike's head turned. What the hell are they doing? Mary didn't look confused. She looked relieved. "Sledge is repositioning," she said. "He's putting eyes on every exit." Noah stared at her. "How do you know?" Mary's mouth tightened. "Because I've seen people who actually protect others," she said. "They don't stand in one place and hope. They move." Footsteps hit the corridor outside, fast, then stopped. Pike's hand went up, palm outward, warning. Mary froze. Noah held his breath so hard it hurt. A voice came through the door, muffled but clear. "Caldwell, it's Linda. I'm with Cass." Mary moved to the door cautiously, not opening it yet. "Say something only Cass would know," she called. Cass's voice answered immediately, tight and angry. "Tell her the kid saved Wyatt by the ditch fence and the deputy's boots were polished like parade shoes." Mary unlocked the door and opened it a crack. Cass slipped in first, rain still on her cap, eyes blazing. Linda followed, face pale, clutching a walkie like it was a life raft. Cass shut the door behind them. "They tried the south entrance," she said, fast. "2 men in rain gear, not shelter staff. They claimed they were contractors checking electrical hazards. Linda didn't buy it." Linda nodded, breathless. "They had no credentials. Security turned them away." Cass's jaw clenched. And then the horn started. Same SUV, trying to pull people toward the windows. Mary's voice stayed controlled. "Where is the SUV now?" Cass's eyes flicked to the ceiling like she could see through it. "Parking lot edge, under the trees. Denton's been acting like a guide, pointing, directing." Noah felt cold hit his spine. "He's telling them where I am." Mary shook her head. "He doesn't know," she said firmly. "Not yet." Pike stepped closer. "Cass," he said, "did you see plates?" Cass nodded once. "Covered," she said. "Mud or tape, on purpose." Pike exhaled, grim. "That's enough." Noah's voice trembled. "Enough for what?" Pike looked at him. Enough to justify me calling state investigators directly, he said, not through my captain. Mary's eyes sharpened. Do it. Pike pulled his phone out and moved to the far corner, lowering his voice. Noah couldn't hear the number, but he caught phrases. Possible public corruption, sabotage, minor witness, attempted interference. Cass crouched beside Noah. You okay? She asked. Noah laughed once, quiet and broken. Not really. Cass nodded like she respected honesty. Fair, she said. Then she lowered her voice. Listen to me. Nobody gets to take you out of here tonight. Not Denton, not Rains, not a developer's goons. Noah looked up. You can't promise that. Cass's eyes didn't soften. Watch me, she said. A sharp crack sounded above, like something heavy hitting glass. Linda flinched. Oh my God! Mary's head snapped up. What was that? Linda swallowed. North window, she whispered. People were saying someone threw something. Another crack, louder. Then the building's fire alarm chirped once, an electronic hiccup, then fell silent. Pike ended his call and stepped back, face set. State's dispatching 2 investigators from the regional office, he said. But roads, no time, Cass cut in. They're escalating. Mary turned to Linda. Get shelter manager to lock the main hall doors, she ordered. Keep people away from the windows. Linda nodded and rushed out. Cass looked at Pike. If they can't get in, they'll try to pull the kid out when you move him, she said. Mary's jaw tightened. We're not moving him through public areas. Cass shook her head. Then you're staying in a building they're actively probing. Pike looked at Mary. We might need to relocate him off-site, he said. Mary's expression went hard. Without a court order, Denton screams kidnapping. Pike didn't blink. If he gets dragged into an SUV, that's worse than paperwork. Noah's pulse hammered. I don't want to be a problem, he whispered. Cass's head snapped toward him. You are not the problem, she said sharply. Then she caught herself, lowered her voice. They are. Mary stared at the floor for a second, thinking like a chess player with too few seconds left. Then she made a decision. Maintenance tunnel, she said. Cass's eyes narrowed. This building has one? Mary nodded. Old storm shelter access. It connects to the municipal service shed behind the gym. Staff use it for utilities. Pike's gaze sharpened. That gets us out without crossing the main hall. Cass stood. I'll cover the exit. Mary looked at Noah. You're coming with us, she said. Right now. Hoodie up, head down. You do not speak to anyone unless I tell you. Noah stood on shaking legs. Pike opened the door and looked into the corridor, then gestured. Move. They slipped out, Mary first, Noah close behind, Cass and Pike bracketing him like moving walls. The corridor ended at a heavy metal door with a push bar. Mary unlocked it with a key card Linda must have given her. The door swung open into darkness. A narrow concrete passage dipped down, lit by a few emergency bulbs that painted everything in sickly yellow. Cass wrinkled her nose. Smells like mildew. Mary didn't slow. Keep moving. Noah's shoes splashed in shallow water pooled along the tunnel floor. The sound echoed, making every step feel too loud. He kept his eyes on Mary's back, on the steady way she moved like she'd decided fear didn't get to vote. Halfway through, a dull thump sounded overhead. Then another, like someone running across the gym floor. Cass's voice was a whisper. They're searching. Pike's hand hovered near his belt. He didn't have his usual weapon now, but he still moved like a cop. If we get confronted, he murmured, stay behind me. Noah swallowed. You'll get in trouble. Pike didn't look at him. I'm already in it, he said. At the end of the tunnel, Mary stopped at another door, this one rusted, older, with a manual latch. She pushed. It didn't move. Cass stepped in, shoulder braced. Let me. They pushed together. The door groaned and opened a few inches, enough for cold air to rush in. Beyond it was darkness and rain, and the faint glow of parking lot floodlights through trees. Cass peeked out, then pulled back instantly. Hold, she hissed. Mary froze. What? Cass's eyes were hard. 2 men, she whispered. Rain gear, standing by the service shed, waiting. Noah's blood turned to ice. Pike leaned in and looked through the crack, then swore under his breath. They anticipated the tunnel. Mary's face tightened. How? Cass's mouth curled. Because Denton knows this building, she said. He's worked county jobs before. He knows the shortcuts. Noah's voice shook. So what now? Cass looked at Mary. Now we stop thinking like paperwork, she said. We think like survival. Pike's phone buzzed. He checked it and his expression changed, tightened. What? Mary asked. Pike looked at them. My captain just texted me, he said quietly. He wants me back at county. Now, he says, stand down and release the situation to proper channels. Mary's eyes went cold. Proper channels meaning bury it. Pike didn't deny it. Cass's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. Those men outside, she said. They're not here for a conversation. Noah stared at the crack of darkness and rain and two waiting silhouettes, and in that moment he understood the trap fully. If they stayed, Denton would keep circling until someone slipped. If they moved, someone was waiting. And the storm outside didn't matter anymore, because the real flood was people closing in. Cass looked back at Noah. Do you trust me? She asked. Noah's mouth went dry. Trust was a word he'd never had the luxury of using, but he thought of Wyatt's arms around his waist. He thought of the bow outside. He thought of Cass stepping between him and a badge. Yes, Noah said. Cass nodded once. Then when I say run, she murmured, you run straight to the bikes, don't look back. Mary's eyes widened. Cass held up a hand. We're out of options, she said. Then she leaned close to Noah, voice barely audible. On my signal, she looked at Pike. You with us? Pike's jaw clenched. Yeah, he said, I'm with you. Cass inhaled, then pushed the door open hard. Cold rain slammed in. Cass stepped out first, fast and fearless, raising her voice like a blade. Hey! The two men turned, and Cass didn't wait for them to speak. She shouted, Run! Noah ran. Noah sprinted into the rain so hard his lungs burned instantly. The service shed sat behind the gym like a dark box, floodlights slicing the downpour into shimmering lines. Cass was already moving, angling left, pulling the two men's attention with her body like she was a flare. Pike shoved the tunnel door wider and stepped out, placing himself between Noah and the silhouettes. County business, one man barked, but his voice didn't sound official. It sounded rehearsed. Back up, Pike shouted, flashing his own badge like it could still scare them. State's on the way. You touch that kid and... The second man moved fast, too fast for a contractor. He reached into his rain jacket. Noah's stomach dropped. Cass slammed into him shoulder first, knocking his arm up before whatever he was reaching for cleared his pocket. Wrong night, she snapped. Pike grabbed Noah's hoodie and yanked him forward. Run to the lights, he barked. Noah ran. He didn't think. He didn't plan. He followed the brightest line. Parking lot floodlights, rows of bikes beyond the trees, a corridor of wet pavement that felt like the only exit in the world. Behind him, the men shouted. Shoes slapped puddles. A horn blared again, long this time, like a signal. Then, engines answered. Not all at once, not a roar. A quick ignition, 1, 2, 3, like sentries waking up. Noah broke through the line of trees and saw them. Bikes parked in disciplined rows, riders standing near them, bodies angled toward the shelter like they'd been waiting for exactly this. Helmets turned in unison when they saw Noah running. Sledge was at the front. He didn't shout. He just lifted his arm, palm down, steady, controlling chaos with one gesture. Riders spread instantly, forming a living corridor. Someone grabbed Noah's elbow and pulled him toward the center of the line, shielding him with leather and steel. Noah stumbled, almost fell, and hands caught him, firm, careful. Kids here, a voice said. Sledge strode forward through the riders, rain hammering his shoulders. His eyes flicked over Noah's face, then past him into the trees. Where's Cass? He asked, voice low. A shout cut through the storm. Cass's voice. Move! She burst from the trees, sprinting hard, Pike close behind. One of the men followed them, slipping on wet leaves, still coming. Cass swung an arm out and shoved Pike sideways toward the bikes. Get him covered, she yelled. Rico and two others surged forward, meeting Cass and Pike halfway. They didn't swing fists. They didn't need to. They stood between the men and the line of bikes like a wall dropped out of nowhere. The men slowed. That's when the black SUV emerged from the far side of the lot, creeping along the edge like a shark, headlights off until the last second. Then they snapped on, bright and blinding. Noah squinted, heart punching. He saw a silhouette in the driver's seat, and in the passenger seat, Jeb Denton. The SUV rolled forward and stopped just outside the line of riders, engine idling, rain ticking on its hood. The window slid down. Jeb leaned out, face slick with rain, voice forced into something almost friendly. "Noah," he called. "Come on, this is ridiculous. You're scaring people." Noah felt his body try to shrink on instinct. Sledge's hand landed on Noah's shoulder, heavy, anchoring. Sledge stepped forward a half pace. "Roll it up," he said to Jeb, calm as a threat. Jeb's smile twitched. "Hank," he said like they were peers, "you don't want this. The boy belongs with me." Sledge's eyes didn't blink. "Nobody belongs to you." Jeb's face hardened. "You think you're helping him? You're using him, making him a mascot." Cass stepped up beside Sledge, chest heaving, eyes blazing. "He's not a mascot," she said. "He's a kid you hurt." Jeb flinched, then recovered. "You have no proof." Mary Caldwell's voice came from behind the riders. She'd made it out through another exit, soaked and furious. "We have a recorded statement," she said, "and we have witnesses, including your threat in the shelter." Jeb's eyes flicked to Mary, and for a moment panic broke through the mask. The driver of the SUV leaned across the wheel and spoke for the first time. "This is getting messy," he said, voice flat. Noah stared at him, not a local, not someone Noah recognized. Clean haircut, no accent Noah could place in the rain, the kind of neutral voice that sounded trained. Sledge's gaze locked on the driver. "Who are you?" he asked. The man didn't answer. He just studied Sledge and the riders like he was measuring a problem. Pike stepped forward, rain dripping off his jaw. "Identify yourself," he ordered. "Now?" The driver smiled slightly. "You should be careful," he said. "You're already ignoring orders from your captain." Pike went rigid. "How do you know?" The driver's smile widened a fraction. "Because people talk." Noah felt cold spread in his chest. It wasn't just a deputy. It wasn't just a foster parent. It was connected. It was networked. Cass leaned toward Sledge, voice low. "That's Halford," she murmured, "or someone for them." Mary lifted her phone. "I'm recording," she said loudly, making sure everyone heard. Jeb's eyes snapped to Mary's phone and his confidence faltered again. "Stop recording me," he barked. Mary didn't stop. "Then stop threatening a minor," she replied. Sledge raised his hand slightly, and the riders tightened their formation around Noah, subtle, precise, a protective circle. The SUV driver's expression cooled. "We're leaving," he said to Jeb, low. Jeb's jaw clenched. "No, I'm not leaving without—" The driver cut him off. "You're leaving," he repeated, and the tone wasn't friendly anymore. It was command. Jeb swallowed hard. He glanced at Noah one last time, eyes burning with promise. Then he leaned back inside. The window began to rise. But before it closed, Jeb shouted one more line into the rain, loud enough for Noah to hear over engines and wind. "You think they'll keep you? They'll get tired of you, too." The window sealed. The SUV rolled backward slowly, then turned, tires hissing on wet asphalt. As it moved away, headlights swept across the riders, and for a split second, Noah saw the rear plate. Not mud, not tape, a plate frame with a dealership name. Noah's brain grabbed it like a hook. "Halford!" He didn't catch the rest, but it was enough. Pike sprinted 2 steps, trying to get the full red, but the SUV turned out of the lot and disappeared into rain. Cass cursed under her breath. Mary exhaled hard, then looked at Noah. "Are you hurt?" Noah shook his head, though his legs felt like rubber. Sledge's voice was steady. "They won't try again tonight," he said. Cass snapped her gaze to him. "How do you know?" Sledge looked toward the darkness where the SUV vanished. "Because they came for quiet," he said, "and they didn't get it. Now they'll change the battlefield." Pike wiped rain from his eyes. "I need units," he said, voice tight. "But my captain—" Mary cut him off. "Your captain is compromised," she said. Pike's jaw clenched. "I know." Noah stared at the line of bikes around him. "What happens now?" he asked. Mary answered first. "Now we get you somewhere they can't reach easily," she said, "and we get the evidence locked." Cass shook her head. "Not a shelter," she said. "They found the tunnel." Sledge's gaze moved to Noah. "You're coming with us," he said simply. Mary's eyes sharpened. "Hank, legally," Sledge didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Legally," he said, "he stays alive. You want legality? We'll do it tomorrow with a judge. Tonight, he doesn't go back into that building." Mary hesitated, then nodded once. "Fine," she said, "but I'm coming too, and Pike." Pike exhaled, relief and dread tangled. "I'll come," he said, "and I'll keep my recorder on." Sledge lifted his hand again. Bike started, not loud, controlled. Riders mounted up in practiced motion. Cass leaned close to Noah. "Helmet," she said, pressing one into his hands. "Put it on." Noah's fingers fumbled with the straps. Cass tightened it for him quickly. Sledge pointed to a bike near the center. "You ride with Rico," he told Noah. "Middle of the pack. You do not break formation." Noah nodded, throat tight. He climbed on behind Rico, gripping the back of the vest like it was the only thing keeping him from being swallowed by the storm. Rico glanced back. "Hold on," he said. Noah held on. Sledge raised his hand, and the formation rolled out of the lot, tight, quiet, deliberate, into the rain-soaked streets of Riverbend. Behind them, the Civic Center shrank into darkness. Ahead, the road glistened like a river, and Noah realized something that scared him more than the flood. Tonight, he wasn't just running from Jeb Denton anymore. He was running from a whole machine that had already decided he should disappear. The pack moved like one animal. Rico's bike rolled steady, tires slicing through standing water without jerking. Noah clung to the back of Rico's vest, helmet pressing down on his ears, rain hammering the visor so hard it sounded like gravel. He couldn't see much, just the red glow of taillights ahead, the blur of streetlights, and the occasional flash of lightning turning flooded lawns into shallow lakes. They didn't take main roads. They cut behind closed stores, through service lanes, around the low bridge that was already half under, then up onto an old gravel climb that led into higher ground outside Riverbend. Noah recognized none of it, which meant Cass and Sledge had planned routes for exactly this. Mary followed in a pickup behind the bikes, Pike in the passenger seat, his phone held low, recorder still running. Every few minutes he spoke into it, timestamps, locations, the fact that an unknown SUV with covered plates attempted contact with a minor witness. Noah didn't know if those words would save him later. He only knew they were the difference between being erased and being found. After 20 minutes, the pack turned through a rusted gate into a fenced lot behind Marshall's garage. The bay doors were open, floodlights blazing. Inside, the concrete was dry, warm air spilling out like the building itself was exhaling. Bikes rolled in, engines cutting one by one. Silence settled again, heavy and protective. Rico swung his leg off and helped Noah down. Noah's hands were numb from gripping so hard. His legs wobbled like he'd forgotten how to be on the ground. Cass was there immediately, pulling Noah's helmet off, scanning his face. "Any pain? Any dizziness?" she asked, quick and practical. "No," Noah managed. Sledge stepped in from the side, water dripping off his shoulders, eyes hard. "Get him inside," he ordered. "Back room." Mary climbed out of the pickup, soaked and furious, and Pike followed, eyes sharp as if danger could still appear from the dark. Mary pointed a finger at Sledge. "We need to be clear," she said. "This is temporary protective sheltering in an emergency. Not placement, not custody." Sledge didn't argue the words. "Fine," he said. "Call it whatever keeps him breathing." They moved Noah through the garage into a smaller office area behind the main bays. It smelled like oil, coffee, and clean rags. A couch sat against the wall with blankets stacked on it like someone had prepared for long nights. Cass handed Noah a towel. "Dry off," she said. "You're shaking." Noah hadn't noticed until she said it. He scrubbed his hair with the towel, shoulders tight, eyes still seeing headlights through rain. Mary set her clipboard on the desk. "Noah," she said, steady, "tell me again what you saw on that SUV, the plate frame." Noah closed his eyes, forcing his brain back to the moment, the sweep of headlights, the rear plate, the frame. "Halford," he said. "I didn't see the rest, but it said Halford." Pike nodded once. "Halford Auto," he murmured. "They have dealerships in 3 counties." He looked at Mary. "That's a link between the development name and a physical asset." Sledge's gaze stayed on Pike. "You can get me a name?" he asked. Pike hesitated. "I can get you a registered owner if I run it," he said. "But if I run it through county systems, my captain sees the query." Mary's eyes narrowed. "Then don't run it through county." Pike looked at her. "State can," he said. Cass leaned on the doorframe. "State isn't here yet," she said, "and by morning that SUV will be washed, replated, or in a garage." Sledge's jaw clenched. "Then we get proof tonight," he said. Mary's voice sharpened. "Hank," Sledge raised a hand, not at Mary, at the room. "No violence," he said. "No stupid hero stuff. We collect evidence, we document, we hand it to the right people. Cass's eyes flicked to Noah. You're not going, she said before Noah could even think it. Noah swallowed. I don't want to go. Sledge nodded once. Good, he said. You stay. He turned to Rico. You said you saw fresh lock marks at the maintenance gate. Rico nodded. Fresh metal shine, he said, like a key was used recently, not bolt cut. Cass stepped forward. If the gate was opened with a county key, whoever did it has access, she said. But the levee site might still have something they didn't think about. Footprints, tool marks, a dropped glove, anything. Mary's voice was hard. It's flooded. Evidence will be washed. Pike shook his head slightly. Not all of it, he said. Bolt cutters leave distinctive compression marks on chain links. If the maintenance chain was cut or forced, we can photograph it. We can also check the lock housing for fresh scratches. Cass looked at Pike. You're coming with us, she said. Pike blinked. Us? Sledge answered. You, Rico, 2 riders. No patches showing if possible. You go to the maintenance gate and the access road. You photograph everything. You don't confront anyone. You leave. Mary's jaw tightened. And if county units show up? Sledge's voice stayed even. Then you're just checking flood damage like every other citizen, he said, with a camera. Mary looked like she wanted to fight it, but she knew the truth. The system that should have protected Noah had already tried to drag him into a car. Fine, she said, but I want a copy of everything you take, immediately. Cass nodded. You'll have it. Noah sat on the couch, towel in his hands, listening to adults talk strategy like his life was a file they were trying to keep from being shredded. He hated how normal it sounded to them now, like the danger had become a task list. He cleared his throat. Ellis, he said suddenly. Everyone turned. What about him? Mary asked. Noah swallowed. He tried to tell me who Rains met, Noah said. He got interrupted. Pike's eyes narrowed. Ellis is scared, he said, but he knows something. Cass's face tightened. Scared people disappear, she muttered, or they flip. Sledge's gaze went distant for half a second, then hardened again. We protect him too, he said. Mary's voice was skeptical. How? Sledge looked at Rico. Call him, he said. Tell him to get off the radio and come here. Pike stiffened. That could compromise him. Sledge didn't blink. Leaving him alone compromises him worse. Rico pulled his phone out and stepped into the hallway, speaking low. Mary turned to Noah. You need rest, she said. Noah's laugh came out small and bitter. How? Mary didn't have an answer. She sat on the edge of the chair opposite him. Then you sit, she said. You breathe. You let your body catch up. Noah nodded, eyes burning. A few minutes later, Rico came back, face tight. No answer, he said. Went straight to voicemail. Pike's jaw clenched. He's on duty, he said, but it sounded like he was trying to convince himself. Cass's eyes flashed. Or he's not, she said. Sledge grabbed his helmet again. Cass, he said, you stay with Noah and Mary. Cass started to protest, but Sledge cut her off with a look. You're the one he trusts, he said. You don't leave him alone. Cass's shoulders tightened, then she nodded once. Fine. Sledge turned to Pike and Rico. Let's go, he said. Mary stood too. I'm coming. Sledge shook his head. No, if this goes sideways, you need to be here for Noah. Paperwork is protection too. Mary's mouth tightened, but she stayed. Pike hesitated. Captain texted me again, he said, showing Mary the screen. Stand down. Return to county. Immediately. Mary's eyes went flat. That's not a request, she said. That's control. Pike swallowed. If I disobey, they'll suspend me. Sledge's voice was quiet. If you obey, they'll bury you, he said. Pike stared at the message, then locked his phone and slipped it in his pocket. I'm coming, he said. Sledge nodded once. They headed out. Cass watched them go, then turned to Noah, lowering her voice. Listen, she said. If anything happens tonight, you stay with Mary. You don't open any door for anyone, not even if they say they're police. Noah's chest tightened. What if they are? Cass's eyes were hard. Then they'll bring a warrant, she said, and Mary will see it. Noah nodded. Mary pulled her phone out again and began sending messages. Judge contacts, state hotline, supervisor. Her fingers moved fast like she could type a wall high enough to stop a flood. Outside, the remaining riders repositioned in the lot, bikes angled to block the gate. A few stood on the roofline of the garage with flashlights scanning the road. Noah stared at the dark through the office window and realized something else. For the first time in his life, people were building a perimeter for him, not because he was valuable, because he was human. Cass sat beside him on the couch, not touching him, just close enough that he could feel he wasn't alone. "You did the right thing," she said quietly. Noah swallowed. "It doesn't feel like it." Cass's voice stayed steady. "Right doesn't always feel good," she said. "Sometimes it just feels loud." A phone buzzed on the desk. Mary glanced at it, then her face changed. "What?" Cass asked. Mary held up the screen so they could see. A text from an unknown number. "Stop hiding the boy. This ends tonight." Noah's blood went cold. Cass's eyes went sharp. "They found the garage," she said, and outside, somewhere beyond the lot gate, a car engine started, slow and deliberate, then another, like headlights were about to appear on the road leading straight to them. The text on Mary's screen sat there like a knife left on a pillow. "Stop hiding the boy. This ends tonight." Noah's mouth went dry. He didn't even know how they'd gotten the number until he remembered. The shelter, the chaos, phones out, people everywhere. It only took one compromised contact list, one message forwarded, one helpful update sent to the wrong person. Cass stood so fast the couch creaked. She moved to the office window and peered out through the rain-streaked glass. "Two vehicles," she said, voice flat. "One's a truck, one's an SUV. Lights off." Mary was already dialing. "State hotline," she muttered. "Pick up, pick up." Noah sat rigid, towel still in his hands, knuckles white. The garage felt suddenly too bright and too exposed, like all the floodlights were target markers. Cass turned toward Noah. "Helmet back on," she ordered. "I'm not riding again," Noah whispered. "You might be," Cass said, not unkind. "Just in case." Mary covered the phone's microphone and looked at Cass. "We cannot move him without a court order," she said. Cass's eyes burned. "We can't leave him here to be grabbed either." Noah's chest tightened. "They'll come inside." Mary's phone connected. "Yes, this is Mary Caldwell, CPS Riverbend. I have a minor witness at risk. We have attempted interference, a compromised deputy, and now direct threats." She paused, listening, then her voice sharpened. "I need an emergency protective order issued verbally if necessary, right now." Cass stepped into the doorway and shouted down the main bay, "Positions!" The garage responded instantly. Riders who'd been leaning, waiting, snapped into motion. Bikes shifted to block the gate tighter. Two men climbed onto a work truck parked sideways at the entrance. Flashlights angled down the road. Noah heard the first engine outside, not loud, not revving, just approaching slow. Predatory. Mary's face tightened as she listened. Yes, I can hold." She glanced at Noah. "Name, Noah Carter, minor, foster placement with Jeb Denton." Her voice turned colder. "Immediate threat from guardian and unknown associates. We have documented physical injury and witness statements regarding levee sabotage." Cass came back into the office. "Sledge and Pike aren't back," she said. Mary swallowed. "Where are they?" Cass's jaw clenched. "At the maintenance gate, 10-15 minutes out." She looked at Noah. "We have to hold until they return." Noah's heart pounded. Hold, like a line, like a wall, like something floods tested. Outside the lot fence, headlights flashed on, sudden, bright, then cut off again as if the driver realized they'd given away position. Cass's lips curled. "They're probing," she said, "seeing if we scatter." Mary's phone crackled. "Yes, I understand. I can provide sworn statement. Yes, I can." A loud metallic clang echoed from the front. Someone had struck the gate, not hard enough to break it, hard enough to announce. Rico's voice boomed from the bay, carrying into the office. "Stay back from the fence!" Cass moved to the doorway again, eyes sharp. Noah stood, legs shaky. "What do I do?" Mary's voice stayed steady even as she listened to the hotline. "You stay in this room," she said, "away from windows. If anyone breaches the bay, you go into the storage closet behind the couch and shut the door." Cass looked at Mary. "If they breach," she said, "we've already lost." Mary's eyes flashed. "Then we don't let them breach." Another sound outside, tires on gravel, a door opening, a man's voice muffled by rain. Then a shout from the bay. "It's Denton!" Noah's stomach flipped. Cass's head snapped toward the sound. "Keep him off the property," she barked. Mary's phone finally gave her what she wanted. Her posture changed, like a rope had tightened around her spine. "Understood," she said into the phone. "You're authorizing an emergency hold pending written order in the morning?" She listened. "Yes, I understand. Thank you." She ended the call and looked at Noah. "I have it," she said. "Emergency hold. He's not going anywhere with Denton." "Not legally," Cass let out a harsh laugh. "Legal doesn't stop hands." Mary's eyes sharpened. "It gives Pike authority when he returns." As if the words summoned it, a new sound rolled in from the road. Motorcycles fast and tight, coming back hard. Cass's head snapped up. "That's them!" The pack burst into the lot from the side entrance like a wave, engines roaring now, not for show but for force. In the lead, Sledge. Behind him, Pike. Rico's crew peeled to make space, enclosing the incoming bikes in a moving shield. The two vehicles outside hesitated. You could feel it, the moment the hunters realized the herd had teeth. Sledge killed his engine and dismounted in one fluid motion. He crossed the bay with rain streaming off him, eyes blazing. "Who's here?" he demanded. Cass pointed toward the gate. "Denton," she said, "and at least 2 vehicles. They texted Mary." Pike was already moving, pulling his phone out, dialing. "State investigators are en route," he said. "I'm calling Highway Patrol for immediate assistance." Sledge stepped out into the bay, voice carrying. "Denton!" he shouted. Outside, Jeb's voice came back loud and shaky. "This is my Foster. You're harboring him." Sledge's tone was calm as death. "You step onto my property again, and you'll be leaving in cuffs." Jeb laughed, but it cracked. "You don't have authority?" Pike's voice cut in, amplified by the bay's echo. "I do," he said, stepping forward into the light. "Jeb Denton, you are being ordered to leave. You have no custody tonight. Emergency hold is active." Jeb's voice rose. "That's not real." Mary stepped into the bay, holding her phone up. "It's real," she said, "recorded, time stamped." For a moment, the only sound was rain. Then the SUV's engine revved, one sharp burst, like a signal. The truck answered with its own rev. Cass's eyes narrowed. "They're going to rush the gate," she said. Sledge lifted one hand. Riders repositioned instantly, bikes angled like steel barricades. Flashlights pinned the fence line. Someone rolled a heavy tool chest sideways to block a gap near the bay. Noah stood at the office doorway, frozen, watching adults build a battlefield around him. He hated it. He also felt something he'd never felt in any foster home. Worth defending. The SUV crept closer to the gate. The truck inched beside it, forming a wedge. Through the rain, Noah saw movement in the SUV. Jeb in the passenger seat again, face tight, and the driver's silhouette still unreadable. Pike raised his voice. "Stop! Vehicle's off! Step out and identify!" The SUV didn't stop. It lunged. Tires spun on wet gravel, the front bumper slamming the gate with a violent crunch. The chain holding the gate jerked tight, metal shrieking. Riders surged forward, some shouting, some just moving. The bikes held, but the gate buckled inward inches. Cass grabbed Noah by the shoulder and yanked him back. "Back room!" she snapped. Noah stumbled, heart hammering, and Cass shoved the office door shut, locking it. Mary pulled Noah toward the storage closet. "In," she ordered. Noah hesitated for half a heartbeat, then obeyed, slipping into the narrow dark behind hanging coats and stacked boxes. The door closed. Inside the closet, Noah heard the world as muffled chaos, engines revving, men shouting, metal groaning, the deep thunder of bikes repositioning. A crash, something heavy hitting concrete. Someone yelled in pain. Then, Pike's voice, sharp and commanding, cut through it. "Stop! Hands up! Now!" A pause, then another voice, calm, cold, likely the SUV driver. "You can't prove anything," it said, and Sledge's voice answered, low and lethal. "Maybe not tonight." Noah pressed his forehead to the closet door, breathing in dust and old fabric, trying not to shake apart. Because out there, in the rain, people were fighting over whether he got to exist tomorrow. Noah could smell oil and dust through the coats in the closet. His breath came too loud in the small space, so he tried to slow it, to make himself quiet the way he'd learned in Jeb's shed. Outside, the garage was chaos in bursts, shouting, boots running, metal dragging, an engine revving and then dying. And over everything, the rain, steady and indifferent. Then a sound cut through the noise, plastic crunching under a shoe. Someone was close to the office door. Cass's voice snapped tight. "Nobody goes in here." A deeper voice answered, Sledge, calm as a blade. "Hold the line." Pike's voice came next, strained with control. "Driver, out, hands where I can see them." For a moment there was only rain and distant engines. Then the driver spoke again, too calm, too confident. "This is a private misunderstanding," he said. "You've got a flood, Sergeant, people dying on rooftops, and you're here playing hero." Pike's response was clipped. "Step out." A pause. Then Jeb Denton's voice, high and frantic. "Noah, listen to me. They're using you. I'm your guardian." Noah's stomach twisted. Even muffled, Jeb's voice could still reach the part of Noah that wanted to obey, just to make the shouting stop. Then Mary's voice cut in, sharp and clear. "You are not his guardian tonight, Mr. Denton. Emergency hold is active. One more step and you're violating it." Jeb spat something Noah couldn't make out. A heavy thud hit the gate again, another shove from the vehicles, or someone yanking metal into place. The line outside didn't break, but it groaned like it wanted to. Noah pressed his forehead to the closet door, eyes stinging. And then the sound changed. A click. Not a loud click, a small one. Metal on metal, a key. The office door handle jiggled once. Cass swore, low and vicious. Mary's voice rose. "Cass, he's trying the door," Cass answered immediately. "It's locked." The handle jiggled again. Noah's pulse spiked so hard he felt it in his throat. The key turned. The lock gave a tiny, reluctant sound, as if it recognized the key. Noah's blood went cold, because only a few people would have a key to an office door in this building, and none of them should be here. The door opened. Light spilled into the office. Bootsteps crossed the floor, slowly, deliberately. Noah shut his eyes, forcing himself not to make a sound. A man spoke quietly, close enough that Noah heard the words clearly through the closet. "Where is he?" Not Jeb, not Rains. The calm driver. Cass's voice was right there, steady but charged. "Get out," she said. The man chuckled softly. "You don't understand the size of what you're standing in," he murmured. "This town is an investment. That kid is a loose wire." Mary's voice came from farther back, but fast, like she was moving. "Step away from that closet, now." The man's tone stayed smooth. "Mary Caldwell," he said, almost impressed. "You're making this complicated." Mary's voice was ice. "You entered a restricted area, during an emergency, around a minor, back up." The man exhaled like he was tired. "I offered Denton a solution," he said. "Quiet, clean. Then the deputy turned it into theater." Cass's voice sharpened. "You're admitting it." The man laughed once. "Admitting what? That people want property? That the county wants tax revenue? That a trailer park on floodland is bad optics and worse economics?" His tone shifted, harder. "Move." Noah heard Cass's boots shift. A chair scraped. Then Pike's voice, suddenly near, furious. "Nobody move!" A heavy scuffle, bodies colliding. Cass grunted. Someone slammed into the desk. The room shook. Noah's eyes flew open in the dark. He heard Mary gasp, then a sharp, strangled sound like she'd hit the wall. Then the man's voice again, no longer calm. "Open the closet." Noah's lungs locked, a step toward the closet, then another. The closet door handle vibrated. Noah's fingers curled into fists so tight his nails dug his palms. And then, through the closet door, Noah heard Sledge. Not loud, just present. "Step away," Sledge said. A pause. The man's voice shifted back toward smooth. "Hank Marshall," he said, almost respectful. "You're a problem, too." Sledge didn't answer the bait. "Step away," he repeated, "or you'll find out how expensive problems get." The man laughed faintly. "You think you intimidate me with a wall of bikers?" His tone sharpened. "This is business. You can't punch business." Sledge's voice dropped lower. "I'm not punching business," he said. "I'm stopping a man from touching a child." Silence hit the office like a held breath. Then, Pike's voice, tight with strain. "State line is on speaker," he said. "You're being recorded." Mary's voice came through, shaky but clear. "I have his admission on audio." The man paused. Noah could hear him calculating. You could feel it, the pivot. The closet handle stopped moving. Bootsteps backed away. Then the man spoke, louder now, to the room, as if he wanted to rewrite the scene for the record. "This is a misunderstanding," he said. "We came to ensure the boy was safe. Denton is his guardian. There's confusion because of the storm." Mary's laugh was short and bitter. "You just called him a loose wire." Another pause. Then Jeb's voice outside the office, panicked, pleading, "We have to go." The man's tone flattened. "Yes," he said. Bootsteps moved toward the door. Sledge's voice cut across the room. "Not until we have your name." The man didn't answer. Pike surged. Noah heard it in the rush of fabric and the scrape of a boot. A sharp metallic clatter hit the floor. Keys. Someone had dropped keys. The man cursed under his breath and lunged for them. Cass moved too, fast. A scuffle, a grunt, then Cass's voice. "Got them!" the man snapped. "Give me—" Sledge's voice was steel. "Leave," he said. "Now!" The man backed toward the door. Noah heard him stop for half a second, like he wanted the last word. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "Riverbend will be rebuilt without that park, with or without your permission." Then he was gone. The office door slammed. Outside, the garage noise surged again, shouting, engines, the gate groaning. Then, abruptly, a new sound, sirens. Not the shelter siren, multiple, close, highway patrol. The kind of siren that didn't answer to a county captain. Pike's voice rose, commanding and relieved. "Hands up! On the ground!" Jeb's voice screamed something incoherent. A door banged. Tires squealed. Then another shout. Rico, maybe. "Truck's running!" Sledge roared one word, massive. "Block it!" Engines roared in response, bikes surging, positioning, cutting angles. Noah heard the violence of motion without seeing it. Rubber on gravel, a bumper hitting metal, a horn blaring and choking off. Then, the sirens swallowed everything. Seconds later, the office door opened again. Light spilled in. Cass stood there, chest heaving, rainwater and sweat on her face, eyes bright with adrenaline. "It's done," she said. Mary stumbled in behind her, one hand on her ribs, face pale but controlled. "Noah," she called, "come out." Noah didn't move for a beat. His body didn't trust Dunn. Sledge's shadow filled the doorway next, and his voice, quiet now, reached into the closet like a hand. "It's safe," he said. Noah pushed the closet door open slowly. The office was wrecked, a chair on its side, papers scattered, the desk lamp broken. Pike stood near the door, talking into his phone, voice tight, giving names and times and attempted interference with a protected minor. Cass held a keyring in her hand, heavy, jangling. Mary pointed to it. "Those keys," she said to Pike. "Bag them, chain of custody." Pike nodded, already moving. "Done." Noah stepped out fully, legs weak. Sledge looked at him, really looked, like he was checking for fractures you couldn't see. "You all right?" he asked. Noah tried to speak. His throat closed. He nodded once, small. Sledge's jaw tightened. He reached into his vest, pulled out a folded bandana and handed it to Noah without a word. Noah took it and wiped his face, realizing only then that rain, or tears, had gotten inside his helmet earlier. Mary drew a shaky breath. "State investigators are arriving at dawn," she said. "Highway Patrol has Denton detained for violating the emergency hold and trespass. The other man, he ran. But we have audio. We have his keys. We have your statement. We have Wyatt's witness account. And we have the attempt tonight on multiple cameras." Cass's eyes were still burning. "And we have his vehicle," she said, nodding toward the bay. "Patrol stopped it at the corner. Plate frame says Halford." Pike looked at Noah. "Your words are going to matter tomorrow," he said. "Not because you're a foster kid, because you're a witness who stayed standing." Noah swallowed. "Will I have to go back to him?" he asked, voice barely there. Mary's face softened, just slightly. "Not tonight," she said, "and not tomorrow if I can help it." Sledge spoke then, simple. "You won't," he said. Mary started to object, law, process, forms. But she stopped when she saw Sledge's face, not a threat, a vow. Outside, sirens faded into the distance as units repositioned. The rain eased into a steadier curtain, less violent, like the storm itself had spent its worst. Mary pulled her phone up and typed quickly. "Emergency hearing first thing," she said. "I'm filing for removal, immediate." Cass looked at Noah. "You saved Wyatt," she said quietly. You didn't just pull a kid out of water, you pulled a truth out with him. Noah stared at the scattered papers on the floor. It doesn't feel heroic, he whispered. Sledge stepped closer. Heroic isn't a feeling, he said. It's what you do when you're scared. Noah's hands tightened on the bandana. He thought of the fence, the current, Wyatt's tiny wrist, the yellow raincoat, the bolt cutters, the cuffs, the shed, the SUV lights. All of it felt like one long night that didn't want to end. Mary touched Noah's shoulder gently. Come with me, she said. We'll get you warm. We'll get you sleep. Noah hesitated, then nodded. As they walked through the garage, riders parted for him, making space without staring, respect without spectacle. Near the bay doors, Wyatt appeared with Cass's mother, small, wrapped in a blanket, eyes wide. He spotted Noah and ran, arms out. Noah caught him awkwardly, careful, and Wyatt clung to him like the world finally held. Sledge watched them, face unreadable, then looked toward the dark road where the SUV had tried to take Noah. You hear me? Sledge said softly, not to anyone in particular. We're done bowing to bullies. And for the first time in Noah's life, the word home didn't sound like a place you survived. It sounded like a place you could stay.